the second one was slightly more than a booking than the first. And if you are Phil Foden, or if you're, I'm sure Guardiola in private would say to Phil Foden, look, just be careful. Like, it's really harsh, it is. But when you've got a booking, you can't afford to grab anyone or do anything. And it was so soft. But at the same time, the second one is maybe just a booking. The first one's never a booking for me.
Do you think it'll hamper his development at all? He's been waiting a long time, hasn't he, to get given the nod?
No, because I think that Guardiola's come out and defended him in the way he has. They were 5-1 up at the time. Obviously, great assist for, was it Sterling's second or third, I think it was, whatever it was. But he, I thought Phil Foden, again, we're seeing what everyone sees. I just think it is, realistically, the annoying thing is that his games are going to come in the Champions League. That's the frustration, I guess.
Well, is that annoying? I mean, as a player, surely that's the competition you want to be playing in.
But obviously, I mean, annoying in the sense that you get a red card. It's like you say, he's only going to get maybe 15, 20 games this season. So each game is crucial to his development. So it is frustrating that he's going to have to miss a game. But no, I thought he was great again. I thought that City, bearing in mind they went 1-0 down, and you do wonder, you go 1-0 down, whether then it's going to be tough to break them down. Atalanta going along very nicely in Serie A. Could have been a very tough game, but they made light work of it, as did Spurs. And we spoke about the issues that Spurs have had in the last few weeks, but they were up against a pretty poor Red Star Belgrade team, has to be said. I was really underwhelmed with them, but Tottenham looked good.
Yeah, Spurs look decent, but as you said, I mean, they were up against a bunch of mugs, really. 5-0 in the end, and Son Heung-min starring.
He did indeed. I want to talk as well. We're going to go into detail on both these games. We've got guests throughout the show to talk about these games. We want to talk about our man Sol Campbell, who was appointed yesterday.
This is magnificent.
Well, magnificent. I mean, that's magnificent in the sense that he's been appointed. Delighted for him, of course. And it's a step up. He's now a League One manager, although they are effectively bottom if you take Bolton out of the equation.
Well, it's good, I think, last night, isn't it, that he turned up for the very first time and they put on such a good display.
Well, this is it. They obviously want to put on a good performance in front
you
of
want
a
to
new
impress
manager.
Your boss, don't you?
It's key.
That, just before we go into that, is that a thing? So, like, you get a new manager, everyone there, that first training session, that first match, you got a new manager, you really are trying to outdo yourselves.
You up your game because you know that obviously managers watching. You want to make sure you secure your place in the team for the next game.
Oh, yeah.
And they certainly did that last night.
What was the score again?
Southend 1.
Yeah.
Doncaster 7.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Wait, and he's manager of Doncaster, is he?
No, Southend. Southend, who are effectively rock bottom. Take Bolton out of the equation because, of course, they started on -12.
Right.
Southend are on just 5 points after 14 games. They're already 8 points adrift of safety.
Sol Campbell, man for a crisis.
Well, he is, and interesting one. I mean, look, good news for Sol Campbell. We talk a lot about black managers, the lack of black managers. Interestingly, of course, Doncaster Rovers, Darren Moore is the manager. So, great result for them, by the way.
Can we talk about the fact that Sol Campbell wanted to build a moat around his house?
I mean, we can touch on it.
Fantastic.
I mean, you can talk about it.
Sol Campbell wanted to build a moat around his house.
Is this true?
Yeah.
Definitely true.
Yeah, 100%.
Is this like a childhood? Because I remember when I was young and I wanted to build a moat around my house, but I was 6 at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, is this kind of one of those like childhood
36,
dreams?
He was 36.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the dream first and foremost. I'd love to have a moat.
Yeah.
I'd stack it full of stuff as well.
Yeah.
There'd be alligators and all sorts in there. But yeah, unfortunately, the London Planning Authority, in their infinite wisdom, decided Sol wasn't allowed a moat.
Really?
So yeah.
I wonder if he builds a moat around Southend Stadium and doesn't allow any of the fans to turn
that
up.
should be
That
it.
might help.
Yeah.
At the moment.
100%.
I mean, they're not looking particularly
Well, he can
good.
just tell us that anything's happened then, can't he?
He could. Like Korea.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing going on. But yeah, so he was appointed manager. So good news for him, but he has got one heck of a job. I think he'll struggle to keep them up, if I'm honest, from what I've seen. I have watched them a couple of times. Goal difference of -25 already. They're only 14 games into the season, looking a worse goal difference than Bolton, who, of course, were getting beaten so heavily at the start of the season when they were going through all the turmoil. So I can't help but feel that it's not looking particularly good for Southend.
No. The idea of being below Bolton in any ranking, actually, is staggering.
Yeah, tough times for Southend.
I think the main tourist attraction in Bolton is a Mecca Bingo, which comes next door to a KFC drive-through.
You know, like half of my family are from Bolton. You do know that, yeah. Like my mum's from Bolton, grew up, born and raised.
Really?
Yeah.
Does she say birthday?
Oh no, she does. Yeah.
Yeah, really? Your mum speaks like that?
Yeah, Northern.
She's got. Why don't I know this about
I've got like 30 cousins up there. Yeah, in Bolton.
Is this true?
Absolutely true. Yeah.
You're an oddly closed book, Ridgely.
Yeah, I kind of like blank out that northern part of my life. You know. But that's it. Bolton, born and raised in a playground, is where she spent most of her days. So the other thing I want to talk about is, of course, Eddie Jones. It's quite a big story, this on the back, this whole Spygate.
Well, it isn't. I mean, it is,
but it's not.
But it isn't.
Yeah.
So Eddie Jones. But it's allegedly Eddie Jones thinks that he looked up at one point while England were training and saw someone filming.
Basically, my guess is it's someone with an iPhone.
Yeah.
Taking a picture.
That's basically it, isn't it?
Shall we hear what Eddie had to say?
Oh, go on.
Let's do it.
Look, you just don't need to do it anymore, mate, because you see everything. You can watch everyone's training on YouTube or whatever there is. There's everything out there. There's no value in doing that sort of thing now. Absolutely zero.
It's a bit of a storm in a teacup.
Yeah. I mean, somewhere there's some bloke called, like, Martin who happened to be staying in the same hotel and knows that he's just gone, oh, I'll send this to my WhatsApp group. Look, it's the England rugby team training. And then Eddie Jones has accused him of essentially being an MI5.
Yeah. Go on, Martin. Own up.
Yeah.
What you do?
Fess up, Martin. Come on.
I love how your names that you come up, it tends to be Dave, Gaz, Martin.
Mad Gaz.
Mad Gaz, he's crazy.
Nuts.
Yeah. Martin, on the other hand.
Martin's all right.
No, just a bit of a photographer in his spare time.
Yeah.
But they are making quite a big deal of this in the papers, turning it into a bit of a thing.
Okay, so obviously Eddie Jones has accused somebody of spying on England's training, saying that there was a video camera from a balcony overlooking where they were training. This is in Tokyo. I mean, look, if it's happened, then it has happened now, hasn't it? And there's not much that can be done about it. I question exactly what they're going to gain. I mean, you can see England play. You just watch the highlights.
Yeah.
Like, you know how he sets them up.
I don't fully understand this because I can understand. I said this yesterday, but I can understand it more in football than I can in.
Do you not think Eddie Jones might be making this?
Well,
up?
this is the thing. Is it a PR stunt from Eddie Jones?
Think so.
Does he want the pressure to be on New Zealand? Because it's also, by the way, from New Zealand's point of view, he's been quite clever how he said it. He's not necessarily said it's them. He just insinuated that someone's filmed his training. But naturally, we're jumping to the conclusion that it's someone from the New Zealand camp. Yeah.
Well, they were doing the hacker at the time.
Ah, right.
So, how would you respond to the hacker?
Well, I think we spoke about this yesterday. I just think that, look, if they're allowed to do the hacker, we need to have our own theme tune.
Our own dance.
Yeah. You can imagine the commentators talking about the dance as it's going on.
Whoa, the hokey cokey. Whoa, the hokey cokey.
And look at the look in Owen Farrell's eyes.
Oh, he really means it.
He has really put his left foot in.
Oh, now his left foot's out. What do you reckon happens now? Oh, no, he's shaking it all about.
The New Zealand team are terrified.
Oh, state of that. Of course, the hokey cokey, which goes back generations upon generations to original embarrassing dances.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's one option. We've got a few options. Again, have you got any thoughts as to what song England can dance to? 012 70 20 558. We are looking forward to the hacker. There's a couple of other interesting stories as well that I want to touch on. In particular, Odell Beckham Jr. fined. So we're going to talk ridiculous fines in a bit because Odell Beckham Jr. fined just over £10,000 because his pants failed to cover the knee area. So, what? I know, so random. So he got fined just over £10,000 for this. So I want to talk about some ridiculous fines. We're going to be doing that later in the hour, if that's okay with you.
That's absolutely fine,
We're also going to be talking about the Nike chief executive, due to leave role just weeks after the Nike Oregon project closed down, but will become Nike's executive chairman.
Hey,
in
that's
January.
a relief.
Yes.
No, that's a relief because I was really worried for a second that this particular chief executive of a place might end up out of pocket in some way.
Yeah, no.
You know, embroiled, maybe retire in disgrace, actually, after their flagship athletics program has proven itself to be a hotbed of drug activity. But it's reassuring, actually.
Yeah.
I bet he's got shares as well. Please tell me they've given him shares.
I will tell you is that he's back Salazar and says Nike would support him in any appeal. So effectively, it's a step up. He's got a promotion.
Fantastic. Well,
so,
you know what? Good lad.
Good
And not before time. That's why I say.
Good news for Mark Parker. We'll be giving him a tribute later in the show. We're going to be talking some business after this.
Love sport.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it,
sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Full of skill, full of flair, full of desire. Fulham FC is full of fire. Oh, what a goal! Be there at Craven Cottage as Fulham continue their surge towards the top of the Sky Bet Championship. Watch the unmissable action live in SW6, home of London's original football club.
Absolutely brilliant.
Grab your tickets now at fulhamfc.com.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
Don't get caught out in the great energy price hike as large firms look to charge you more. If you want to save money on your energy bills, it's not too late to see what's on the market. With rising gas and electricity bills, don't get caught out wasting your money on expensive tariffs. A Spokesman Said will show you the very best value deals available. Check out aspokesmansaid.com and you could be using your savings to put towards a well-earned holiday.
With aspokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle, or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
Believe me, he who laughs last thinks slowest. Ha ha ha, see that was a laugh because I'm clever enough.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10. Action-packed show, which includes this.
It's business. It's business time. I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say it's time for business. It's business time. Ooh, it's business. It's business time.
I know what you're trying to say. Hold on, that's a bit. Oh, there it is. We need to learn the next verse, Patrick.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, sorry. And I apologise to Chris Bailey as well. We should have been practicing.
Well,
Morning,
put the side
Chris.
down there.
No, good morning. No, that was fine, guys. We're building up to the big finale on Friday when, you know, the legendary second and third verses, come up. You know, I hear that the third verse is a rap that Patrick's gonna be doing live on Friday.
Well, we are of course on YouTube. It's a nice way I can drop this in now, so you can tune in and watch Patrick dance to that song. But we are gonna. So would you have a duet? What's it called? We have a trio. I should know this. A trio.
I don't know what it is you're talking about.
The three of us sing together.
If we get Kieran the producer in as well, we can have a quartet.
We can have a quartet, yes. Although Kieran's voice is pretty dreadful.
Well,
so
yeah, I think it must be a trio, isn't it? For three.
Yeah, let's go with trio. I mean, now that we've clarified that, let's move on to a little bit of business. In fact, let's talk Just Eat, because I did use Just Eat last night, and it's a company that has grown in a huge way over the last few years. They're in a £4.9 billion takeover battle.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, despite the crass adverts and everything else, it obviously suckers in everybody to use them. Obviously, other takeaway providers are available. They're in the middle of a big takeover sort of discussion with the wonderfully named Takeaway.com, which it's actually a serious company. It's a Dutch company, which obviously put together an even bigger global monolith in this area. But potentially that deal could be off because a South African entity kind of tried to also bid for Just Eat yesterday. So basically Just Eat is a loved asset. People want to do deals and take them over and have sort of a slice of their business. I know, it's terrible, wasn't it? The reality is, though, I think, though, the Just Eat Takeaway.com deal looks like the one that's probably going to go ahead. Will that change anything for anybody using Just Eat? Absolutely not. My guess is actually they may use the Just Eat branding around the world a bit more. But all it means is that Just Eat's on its way to becoming kind of one of these mega global technology names where, you know, anywhere in the world, you know, you can order a Just Eat probably quite soon. So slightly worrying concept, but, you know, good for them.
So the person that came up with Just Eat is essentially about to have about 4.5 billion quid in their bank account.
Well, it doesn't work out quite that way, but will he be sensibly remunerated for his efforts? Absolutely, potentially.
Wow.
But what they're doing, it's actually, without getting too sort of technical about it, it's what is known as an all-share deal, which basically means he's getting a smaller bit of a bigger pie. Think about it that way. A pie which he can probably then deliver to you if you wish.
Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, you think you're dreaming about the sale. In fact, there was when Instagram was sold, there was a really interesting interview. In fact, we'll probably play that shortly because that moment when you know that you're going to be a billionaire.
Yeah.
You can imagine it's quite a special moment. In fact, we will play that interview shortly. Kieran will be scouring away to find that now. We work secure. We work. We do work sometimes. We're working right now. Secure multi-billion-dollar rescue deal.
Oh, this is absolutely bonkers. I mean, WeWork. Many people will have seen their offices around London and other places. Basically, it's you can hire an office, short-term lease, and all of that. It's quite nice inside. There's generally sort of an air hockey table, free coffee, and stuff like that. It's that sort of place. The trouble is, spot the business flaw. The company's been losing a bunch of money over recent years. The sort of the charismatic CEO, guy called Adam Newman, the guy who founded it, he's managed effectively to do the deal of a century by selling this loss-making, potentially highly troubled company to a group called SoftBank, who are actually Japanese, for a cool $5 billion. He's going to trouser somewhere between $1 and $1.5 billion for it, which is an unbelievable deal. So yeah, I think you should get him on the show to ask him how he feels about being a billionaire, because he's just done it. But get this, the best bit of it all, he's getting $1 billion for his shares, he's getting a $500 million credit line for something else, all nice business. But this is the best bit, $185 million consultancy fee. God, I'd love one of those. I normally about 185 quid, but $185 million, admittedly, is a bit of all right, I think.
Yeah, it really isn't so bad.
I mean, I want to say well done, but I'm too busy hating him with every single fibre of my body right now.
Absolutely. 40 years old. Not to make anybody feel, I'm thinking to myself, where have I gone wrong? You know, what have I done wrong? It's sort of, anyway, there you go.
I actually don't know what I would do with £1 billion. I physically don't know. I think I'd just sit there. I think I'd end up doing nothing with it. I think I'd end up just sitting there, just going, I'm a billionaire. I'm a billionaire.
I recommend a better cash, personally.
Oh yeah, better cash. Absolutely, yeah.
Someone else who isn't short of a buck or two, Shaquille O'Neal backs NBA manager over China feud.
Yeah. That's right, Shaq. I mean, obviously basketball and everything else. What do we know about it here? But essentially, it's been a big storm between China and the States. Obviously, they've been battling over all sorts of things around the world in terms of trade, in terms of who's the top dog and everything else. But it's flipped over into the basketball and sporting arena because essentially one of the coaches posted something. This led to various sort of TV insights and everything else being pulled from Chinese TV, lots of furore on Chinese social media, but the Shaq is saying, no, actually, I think the guy was all right. We have free speech in the States. Everything is good. So, yeah, it's just one of these sort of sidelines, really, where the really important stuff from a kind of a global business perspective is the trade stuff, but it impacts everything, and even sport, even the propensity of free speech and whether people can post stuff on social media or not. In this case, it was all about the Hong Kong protests. So, as you can see, kind of really quite distinct and different from the world of basketball or even the world of business, but everything is interlinked ultimately.
It is indeed, Mr. Chris Bailey. Thank you. You might want to stay tuned, actually, Chris. So I mentioned the guy who sold Instagram, Kevin Systrom. We're going to play a little clip now of when he sold Instagram, because this is exactly how it feels to be a billionaire. But I will thank you, Mr. Chris Bailey, founder of FinancialOrbit.com. Let's hear from Kevin Systrom, the man who sold Instagram for over $1 billion.
Well, to tell you the truth, we're a bit disappointed here. We were aiming for $2 billion, and they only gave us $1. So, but sometimes.
That's how it feels.
I thought he was serious for a second.
That's how it feels to be a billionaire.
What would you do with £1 billion, Rich?
I mean, what would you do? I mean, look, we could spend some time over this.
I think I would buy a dog and call it Rich.
Do you? Oh, I appreciate that.
Wouldn't even need it. No, just so I could tell it what to do.
Oh, right. So you can feel powerful over something called Rich.
Yeah.
I think I'll put it into a really high-interest savings account.
What, the dog?
That as well. Right, lots to discuss. I want to talk about this Odell Beckham Jr. fined just over £10,000 because his pants, when they say pants, I think that's an Americanism, isn't it? So pants failed to cover the knee area. ridiculous fines in sport. We're going to go into a bit of detail on that because there are a few fines that are actually quite funny. I know Kieran's done some research, but before we do that, in fact, let's speak of Eddie Jones. In fact, let's hear from Eddie Jones.
Well, there's definitely someone in the apartment block filming, but it might have been a Japanese fan.
You didn't send anyone to go?
No, don't care, mate. Don't care.
He's been quite clever here because I don't think he's actually... Well, he's not made out that it's South Africa, it wouldn't be. Yeah. He's not made out that it's New Zealand. It really has he. But what he's done is he's insinuated. So, of course, people putting two and two together and blowing it up in the papers today. He does like a little mind game, doesn't he, our friend Mr. Jones?
Yeah, he's quite clever, really. And there's an article today saying that he took a leaf out of Sir Alex Ferguson's playbook, which is that you basically manage to get yourself on the back pages, heap a load of pressure on the opposition, but essentially you've made it up.
Yeah. There's very little truth to it. That's what it feels like. It feels like there's very little truth to what he's saying.
There's someone somewhere in the apartment block apparently maybe filming you off the balcony while you train.
It could literally be nothing. There might not be anybody for a start. That's one possibility.
You know what?
It might be somebody with an iPhone taking a picture.
I reckon it's an Instagram boyfriend.
Do you think?
So you know the type of person. What you can't see is that actually they're craning off the balcony because their girlfriend is about 4 floors below and she's striking the ultimate pose. And he's got to just get that angle. Just get right. Oh, okay. There you go. That's the one.
It's tough now, isn't it?
Oh, it's terrible.
The angles that you need to get.
Yeah. It cracks me up, though, because now, more than ever, I think, lads are very beardy, very tattooed.
Yeah.
You know, or look, to be honest with you, every time I walk past one, I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. Yeah. But anyway, so the handsome lumberjacks are everywhere now, and they all vape. Yeah. They all vape. They never even smoked. They just took up vaping, and then you look at them and you see that all these hard nuts are there, like craning every sinew in their body to get the perfect picture of their missus for Instagram, and you think, you, my friend, are a pathetic lumberjack.
Is this because it's like the complete opposite of what you?
No.
You look like. I touched on the fines. We have some interesting fines. So Odell Beckham Jr. fined $14,037 because his pants failed to cover the knee area. Kieran has a couple of other ridiculous fines for us.
I do, and funnily enough, they mostly originate in America. So back in 1995, Michael Jordan.
Yep.
He was fined $25,000 for changing his jersey from 23 to 45.
Really?
Yeah. So he changed his jersey number. Presumably it had some, that's his kind of iconic number.
He spelled ketchup on it, didn't he?
Right. Of course, because then Beckham had 23 when he went to the Galaxy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, also, basically, in a Northern California Federation Football League, the Pop Warner League, as it's more catchily known as, it established a rule that fines teams who beat opponents by 35 or more points.
Really?
Yeah. So they're playing American football. If you beat them by more than 35 points, that's a fine.
Wow.
For being too good.
For being too good.
No.
For rubbing it in. Could you imagine if you got fined for rubbing it in? You'd be even more broke. The time is 3 minutes to 7.
Love sports. You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
Don't get caught out by rising energy bills this year. Leading price comparison site A Spokesman Said can help you save money in just minutes. Plus, sign up to A Spokesman Said to get the latest super cheap collective energy deals. These offers are such great value, they aren't even available direct from the energy companies. Savvy customers have saved over £10 million from collective energy deals. Go to aspokesmansaid.com and you could be saving big money on your bills.
With aspokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
Driving too close to the car in front gives you less time to react. You may not realise that you're tailgating. Leave a 2-second gap between you and the vehicle in front. When it's wet, leave a 4-second gap. By staying back, you give yourself time to react. Stay safe. Stay back. Highways England, connecting the country.
Well, for breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. We've got a big hour coming up. We're going to do a bit of an EFL roundup because, of course, there were a lot of Championship League 1, League 2 games last night. There are several more tonight. In fact, I'm going to Bristol City versus Charlton this evening, so I'll be sure to give feedback on that game, our very own Charlton. We're going to be speaking to Brian Horn later, former Millwall goalkeeper. Of course, Millwall played Cardiff. Rowett appointed in the stands for this game, or that game in particular. We'll be talking about that. Lots more we'll be discussing too, of course. Big news, the Champions League last night, successful for both Tottenham and Man City. We'll be talking about that shortly. 7 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 7, Boris Johnson's put his EU withdrawal agreement on hold after suffering another humiliating Commons defeat. MPs initially backed the progress of the Brexit deal to the next stage, but then rejected the timetable for debate. Some politicians wanted more time to consider the issues. Lib Dem leader Joe Swinson says the PM should create some breathing space.
We need to see a bit more statesmanship from him. Go in a serious and respectful way to negotiate an extension from Brussels, which would give time for whatever route could be taken next. I would argue that should be for a people's vote, for the public to have the final say on this Brexit deal.
A new study suggests the number of 8 to 12-year-olds with anorexia has doubled compared to previous estimates. Researchers say they've seen significant increases when studying the number of children who are seen by psychiatrists for help with the eating disorder. Report author Professor Sarah Byford says it's worrying.
Anorexia nervosa is most common in adolescents, in teenagers aged between 15 and 16. So most of the services will be set up for teenagers. What we need now is to make sure that those services are able to also deal with much younger children.
A group of MPs is calling for some drug offences to be decriminalised to try to tackle the rising number of related deaths. The Commons Health Committee says there needs to be a radical new approach. A Paralympic gold medalist has ended her life through euthanasia. Belgian athlete Marieke Vervoort had an incurable muscle disease. She won medals at London 2012 and Rio 4 years later. In sport, Tottenham put their recent struggles aside as they thrashed Red Star Belgrade 5-0 in the Champions League last night. It was just their second win in 8 matches in all competitions. And Arctic Monkeys, Radiohead and David Bowie are among artists to feature on the first Peaky Blinders soundtrack. The album will be released next month. That's the latest. I'm Karen Bangle.
This is Love Sport.
Good morning. Welcome to Costa.
Delicious coffee.
Sir?
Hey? Oh, flat white, please.
And would you like breakfast for £1 with that?
You what? Breakfast for £1? Really? Whoa.
Wake up to a great deal every morning at Costa Coffee. Pick up a croissant toast or porridge for just £1 with a Medio or Massimo coffee or flat white before 11 a.m. In participating stores until the 31st of October, subject to availability. Exclude seasonal drinks. See costa.co.uk/terms for full T's and C's.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Morning. Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio. Me, Richard Lee and Patrick Christys. Let's touch on the headlines this morning. It was a 5-star performance from both City and Spurs. Both teams scoring 5 goals in comfortable victories in the Champions League. We're going to go hard today on the Eddie Jones. Well, he's been accused of spying, or has accused someone of spying. The back page is going hard on this morning. We're going to be talking Sol Campbell as well, appointed at Southend, then watches his team lose 7-1 at home to Doncaster. New Zealand have prepared for kicking shootout if match goes to extra time. We're going to talk about that as well. The Knife Cheek executive left his role just weeks after the Nike Oregon project closes down, but will become the Knights executive chairman. I'll be getting Mr. Patrick Christys' thoughts on that, and Raheem Sterling, because once again, a fantastic night for him, Mr. Patrick Christys.
Yes, absolutely, Rich. Love that Nike story, by the way. Just classic, isn't it? Well,
Yeah.
Okay, no one will notice if I quit this job and get a promotion. Then I can safely say that I am no longer in my post and that all the drug issues have gone.
There we go. That's the end of that chapter.
Well, I'm glad
And
we can just
move
close
on.
that book.
There we go.
And move on.
You can imagine him going into his boss's office, and you've obviously heard the news. Disgraceful. We are closing down. Just want to know if I still got a job here. I have. I'm going upstairs.
Right.
So you get in the elevator and go up. Right. Okay.
Well, hey.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Top floor.
Jolly good.
Yeah. Fantastic. So look, lots to discuss this morning. We're going to touch obviously a lot on the Champions League because it was a successful night. Now. It wasn't, or certainly Spurs, Red Star Belgrade, it's got to be fair to say they weren't particularly good.
No.
Much more impressive from Man City, I'd say. Don't get me wrong, by the way, Spurs, great night for them. They needed a night like this, certainly after the last few weeks. For Man City, the fact that Atalanta are actually doing pretty well in Serie A, it has to be said. A bit of a surprise package. However, they were dismantled by City. City going one down, coming back in the way they did. Raheem Sterling, once again, headlines another hat-trick.
Yeah, I think he's a different level now, actually, for me. He's immediately below the likes of Ronaldo and Messi. It's the way that he just wrestles dominance out of a game. He was involved in all 5 goals. Assists, hat-trick, as you've rightly said. Yeah, the guy, he's just crossed a line now for me, and he's gone from being very, very good to being out-and-out world-class.
It, for me, is, as much as it's the pace, the trickery, skill levels, finishing, it's actually the intelligence more than anything. I'm watching him, I forget which one it was now, but his movement in the box is so clever, and he knows how to find that yard of space. He just knows where the ball's going. Now, this might be more design than luck. You know, I'm sure they work a lot on this in training, but it just seems like he knows where it's going, and he just reads it that second ahead of people. The amount of goals you see that he gets on the far post.
Yeah.
There was a great one yesterday. Ball comes to him, and he's on the angle, and as he's cutting in, you know it's a goal. You've got one-on-one with the defender, shifts one way, goes the other, fires it back across the goalkeeper. Just a brilliant finish, so clinical in what he does now. In fact, let's hear from Pep, because although it was a comfortable victory, he found it uncomfortable.
And it's not comfortable to play, it's uncomfortable. We don't used to play against these kind of teams, and of course when we can contact with the people up front, it's man to man, when one against one, if you win that duel, always you have a chance. But they don't have not just this kind of situations. Always they have a quality to play. They know exactly what they have to do. It's not a surprise they finished 3rd last season in Italy, one of the toughest championships countries to play. And even this season is playing good. It's an incredible result, of course.
So Pep Guardiola, and I've touched on this so many times in this show, they win a game by 4 goals and he's not overly happy. He talks about it being uncomfortable. They lose a game and he comes out and tells how much he loves his team, how much he loves each player individually, how they're incredible. It feels like quite basic psychology.
Yeah, that's the thing. It is so basic.
So basic.
It's just right straight down the middle, isn't it?
Same every time. Just rinse and repeat. You could pretty much play that interview after every time they've won by 5 goals or more, or 4 goals or more in this case. It just, I don't know. It works, I guess, doesn't it? You can't blame the guy, and he's an absolute genius. He is arguably the best in the world. But maybe that's it. If you've got a method that works, you just keep doing what you're doing.
Can we have a conversation seriously about whether or not Pep could grow hair if he wanted to?
No, he couldn't.
He couldn't. Is that a fact?
Well, in fact, he's on the screen right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
If I were to look at the follicles,
I think there's something there, mate.
You reckon?
I think there's every chance that Pep might be able to grow hair if he wants.
Okay.
So you don't get this on Match of the Day.
No, you don't get this kind of insight. I'll tell you what, we're going to see if we can find pictures of Pep receding, because that might answer this question.
Oh, yeah.
Because then if we've seen that he was receding at some point...
Yeah, and if we could get a few, actually, and we'll put them all next to each other, and we can just watch him go bald again before our very eyes.
Well, interestingly, we've got Pep talking about his receding hairline right now.
And another hat-trick for Raheem Sterling. Whenever you talk about Raheem, you're always pushing him to do more. He's responding, isn't he?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, it was brilliant. He could score one more. But not just with the ball, without the ball helped us a lot.
The sending off of Phil Foden, I saw you have a discussion with the 4th official after the yellow card where you said, and then you returned to him and said, I was right. Did you think that first yellow card was soft and that's why he got subsequently sent off?
No, I want to be in the bench in the next game.
Yeah, no, wrong interview. It wasn't about receding hairline at all.
No, we're going to do our
about
best to try and get that.
Sterling and Mr. Foden. But no, definitely in answer to your question, no, he couldn't grow hair. Foden never was a red card. For those that have seen it yesterday, 2 yellows. First one was so soft. The second one, the only thing I'd be annoyed with Phil Foden, the second one, you just feel that having been on a booking, that he might have just been a little bit smarter about it.
Yeah, potentially. But it was incredibly soft, and Pep has said that he's not going to fine Phil Foden for getting sent off. Because he says he didn't do anything stupid.
Yeah.
So fair enough, really. John Stones did something stupid, though, didn't he?
Go on.
So he wasn't ready to come on when Pep wanted to bring him on, and Pep is livid about the whole thing.
Yeah. By the way, I've just produced a picture just to clear this up.
Dynamite.
Yeah. Pep he definitely can't grow hair.
No, and that is actually a picture of him on the Belgravia Centre's website, isn't it? Which, as we all know, is for baldy men.
There you go.
Have you been there?
Not Belgravia, no. It was another one. There are many other establishments available. Right. Yes. I mean, look,
I'm pretty sure I saw the top of your head on an advert on a tube.
I kind of feel like the subject of hair and follicles is really filling up this segment, rather than talk about Champions League.
It's about time it filled something up, isn't it?
I'd love to get back on the Champions League.
Go on then.
Just because you're sat there with your full head of hair. It's
Majestic.
Like a child. You're like an 8-year-old still. It just makes no sense. Poch has said Spurs players deserve a day off after their 5-0 win.
That was more like it tonight. That must have felt great for you.
Nah, not great. I feel okay. It's only one game. We need to build again our run and our confidence, and of course we need to start in some point. And that is, I think, is a good start for us.
It is one game, but as you say, for the confidence, it must be significant.
Yes, for the confidence, and then tomorrow day off, because we scored 5 goals. I gave, always room or complain about the day off. I said to the player on the dressing room, saying, "Come on, tomorrow day off." If you won.
Did you tell them that at half time? Did you tell them at half time if you get 5, then you get a day off?
Exactly. Yeah. No. But I said, okay, you want day off? Okay, day off tomorrow.
You've mentioned.
And you are, if you are going to be happy like this, day off. Okay, day off.
There you go.
Doesn't that, and I know he wasn't drinking, right? But doesn't that have the sound? Doesn't that have the sound of, like, the back end of a night out when you're telling your mate how much you love him?
He just sounds really joyful, really happy. Yeah. Maybe he had a glass of red afterwards. Managers tend to do that with the other manager. Just enjoy the night. Maybe. But there you go. He's rewarded them with a day off. Do you ever get that after you've done like a really good day's work?
No, I normally get quite an angry email pointing out exactly why the day wasn't as good as I thought it was.
Okay. Points out some of the things that everyone else saw that we didn't.
Yeah.
Well, look, they did play well yesterday. Spurs, has to be said. Tough couple of weeks certainly. So nice for them to bounce back in the way they did.
Massive result for Poch, that I think, and you could just sense the relief in his voice there as well.
Yeah, you could.
Just see, it felt like a weight off for him, didn't it?
Wanted to make a note, obviously Harry Kane, 2 very good goals. First one, great header, nice flicked header. The second one, lovely ball from Ndombele, has to be said. And I know that he's winning over a lot of Spurs fans with his performances. He looks the real deal when he is fit. They need to keep him on the field.
So who is the one player who's got more Champions League group goals than Harry Kane in England?
Oh, go on. Kieran knows this. Go on, hit me with it.
Go on. Guess.
Guess. You can't force me to guess.
Tell me a name. Say a name.
Dance for me.
Name.
Dance for me. No, I'm not going to do this.
Give me a name.
Who's got more Champions League goals?
Yeah.
Wayne Rooney.
No, Paul Scholes. Idiot. Right, moving on.
There you go. Quiz time is over. So Ndombele, very good. Lamela, very good. Of course, his 200th appearance, I believe. Sissoko as well. Dele Alli. Arguably better than Winks and Eriksson.
Yeah.
Is that the question?
I
mean, Eriksson at the moment. I mean, Eriksson's still in the papers. I see today there's more links with Real Madrid, and actually the fact that it might be scuppered for a certain reason. But I don't know.
On that note as well, sorry, do you know Brahim Diaz, who used to be at Manchester City, who Real Madrid bought for 20-odd million? Apparently they're looking to sell him in January. Really? That's it. Doesn't it just show? Because he could have been at City. He was about to break through at City. He could have been one of the, alongside Phil Foden, as some of the great young hopes of Manchester City. He got his agent involved. His agent decides to move him to Real Madrid, or he decides as well. And now he looks like he's out the door in January.
Wow. It shows you. Yeah, look, but this actually, we talk a lot about Jadon Sancho choosing the right path. It's not as easy as it looks, I would say that now. But the problem is, and this is a different subject altogether, when agents have a certain agenda, then sometimes it isn't necessarily in line with the player's best interest. Let's hear again from Poch on having a positive attitude.
Always with good face, smiling to the problems and being positive, and that is happen what happened in the next few games. We are going to keep going in the same way and showing that the problems are on the pitch, outside of the pitch.
There you go, positive attitude.
Yes.
Do you know what? He sounds a lot more upbeat. It's nice to hear Poch like this, like that first one where he's laughing and joking. This one, he's had a tough time. He's had a really tough time the last few weeks. He is under a bit of pressure, so it's nice to see him like this.
Yeah, he has. He is under pressure. Don't get me wrong, but is he not too miserable when things are bad and too joyful when things are good?
I mean, he's an emotional wreck. I mean, of course.
He is, isn't he?
No, it's a bit
He's
of a
up and
roller
down.
coaster with Poch. I think
He's that mate that you go on holiday with, right?
Yeah.
That is either jumping up and down on your bed, kind of, bottle of brandy in hand, yeah, it's going to be the best night ever. Either that or crying alone in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Nothing in between.
You look around, where is Mad Gaz? Where is he? He's
Mad
down.
Gaz?
He's down by the pool. Oh, he's sat in the corner. No. Oh no, look at him. Go on, get him back up to the room. Yeah. Go on, Gaz, come on. It's all right, mate. It's all right.
Exactly.
And then that evening he's flying.
And then he's flying again.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That's the one.
That's Poch. There you go. 7:15.
I have my own radio station too. It's called Love Trump Radio, the only station 100% fair and 112% factual.
This is Love Sport. Digital radio offers great sound quality and more stations than ever before. And we want to make sure that you get Love Sport on your digital radio. Just press the auto tune or auto scan button and Love Sport will appear on your menu. Love Sport on digital radio.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search One You.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Tenna men. Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're right.
Secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're in.
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
There are fewer than 10 days to get ready for Brexit. Find out what you need to do to prepare now at gov.uk/Brexit.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work. Even a quick look at the message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Touched on a couple of good wins, very good wins in the Champions League last night for City and Spurs. But of course, there were lots of other fixtures last night, certainly in the Championship, several more tonight as well. Just want to touch on a couple of those games here with Mr. Patrick Christys. So the one for me, this sums up the Championship. West Brom, top of the league. Barnsley, bottom of the league.
Yep.
2-2 draw. At West Brom, Barnsley went 2-0 up. Cauley Woodrow, of course, ex-Fulham. Very good player. He scored 2 goals for Barnsley. West Brom did come back and equalise, but again, it kind of sums this league up, right, where you've got, and a few of the results I'll touch on last night. Great result for Brentford away at Swansea, winning 3-0. Stoke's good run comes to an end. They lose 1-0 to Sheffield Wednesday. QPR, frustrating at home, could only draw 2-2 with Reading, which certainly after the start they've had, you just wonder whether if they'd have won that, by the way, they'd have gone into the top 2. So that was a shame for them. Preston won, Leeds won. Not a bad result that for both teams, I guess, but certainly Leeds, who never easy to go to Preston. Millwall 2, Cardiff 2. Of course, Gary Rowett in the stands for that one. And Birmingham 1, Blackburn 0. But that was it. West Brom Barnsley for me, and I'm watching this. A couple of really good goals, by the way, from Cauley Woodrow. Top young striker. But it sums the Championship up, where you've got the top team at home. That doesn't really happen in the Premier League. I know we had Norwich beat Man City, but that was at Norwich, and it's so rare, whereas this seems to be quite a common occurrence.
Well, it's this one, so it's a difficult league to get out of, don't they? Clearly in the Championship, there's not a massive golfing class maybe, and there is in the way that the top of the Premier League towards the bottom of the Premier League. So yeah, definitely. But yeah, good result, yeah.
Indeed. Just touch on Brentford. Mentioned they had a good win away at Swansea. They're starting to get going now. You feel that Brentford's starting to just generate and gather a little bit of form. They're now only 4 points outside of the playoffs. Like I say, not so good for for QPR. Good win for Sheffield Wednesday. Again, they're going along really nicely. Sheffield Wednesday currently 3rd in the table. They did beat Stoke, so Stoke's good little run comes to an end. There's a couple of interesting fixtures as well tonight. So I mentioned I'm going to go and watch our very own Charlton. They're away at Bristol City. Derby County taking on Wigan Athletic. Fulham at home to Luton. Of course, Luton beating Bristol City 3-0 at the weekend. Fulham, a little bit hit and miss this season, so it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. Huddersfield Borough. Who'd have thought that would have been the bottom of the table clash in the Championship? But it is. Huddersfield taking on Borough tonight.
Unless it was the battle for worst night out in the UK.
Yeah, worst town.
Yeah. When do we go national again?
Not yet.
Good.
So we can just keep on saying these things.
Oh.
Although be careful when you talk about Bolton, because again, my mum is from Bolton. Forest versus Hull as well. And just to touch on League One, because of course there was plenty of action in League One. Bolton had their first win of the season. They won 2-0 yesterday. What do you make of that? I mean, we touch on Bolton, the issues they've had. They did win 2-0 yesterday away at Bristol Rovers, so it's a disappointing night for Bristol Rovers. There's some really interesting results in League One, actually. I mentioned earlier as well, Doncaster beating Southend 7-1 at Southend. Bolton won 2-0. They're now on -5 points, so they're gradually clawing back that -12. But they're now -5 points. They are, they're 18 points off safety as it stands. There is, 34 games to go. Can they?
No, it's done. It's over.
But they had a good win last night. I'm going to repeat myself. They won 2-0 last night away at Bristol Rovers. They probably need, they need, let me do my maths. They need 55 points from 34 games. Yeah, that's doable.
It's not, is it? I think they played a 14-year-old at one point, didn't they?
Well, I don't know if it's 14. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. But no, they played some young players earlier on. But no, they have now obviously brought in a lot of pros. They've got January as well. Now they've got backing behind them. They've got a little bit of money. They basically need, it's not even 2 points a game, which is the good news. They need, 1.8 points a game. So they need, they need playoff form. If they get playoff form, they'll survive.
Do you reckon they'll do it?
I've just got a sneaky feeling. I know that the management team they've got in there are pretty good. I know the assistant very well, Dave Flitcroft, and I just think that actually they've got half a chance.
I'm just having a look at that league table now. There you go. Bolton on -5, and Southend, who Sol Campbell has just taken over from, are just above them on 5 points. Their goal difference is -25.
Oh, it's horrendous. For me, Southend are done. But then you look at that team, of course, Bury have gone. So there's only the 3 relegation spots this season, which again gives Bolton more of a chance. Wimbledon hit and miss. They've had a good run lately, of course, so you kind of feel like they might drag themselves out. Tranmere, not so good. Accrington, again, struggle financially. I just look, and I think there's so many teams there. There's probably 45 could well keep you safe this season. So that, again, gives Bolton more of a chance. I just think that the size of Bolton, I'd love it if they did stay up, because I just think that...
I'd love it if they stayed up. I'd love it.
No, I would. After everything that's happened, you just feel that... I mean, it'd be such an achievement for one. They've got a lovely stadium there. It's a club that have had Premier League football not so long ago. I don't want to see another team go down to League Two that's got that kind of history.
No.
We've seen it far too often recently, it feels. To touch on a couple of other results, another good result for Wycombe. They stay second in the league. They drew away at Blackpool. Wimbledon did lose. They've had their good little run recently, but they did lose away at Burton 1-0. Big win for Portsmouth. Of course, Kenny Jackett under a lot of pressure there, but they beat Lincoln City 1-0. Rochdale beat MK Dons 2-0. Shrewsbury won. Gillingham won. Mentioned Southend won. Doncaster 7. And a big win for Sunderland, of course, recently getting rid of their manager. New manager appointed. They won 5-0 yesterday. Just to touch briefly, I won't go through all the results in League Two, but the one involving our London club, Of course, Leyton Orient did play last night, and it wasn't such a good night for Leyton Orient. After their brilliant win at the weekend away at Grimsby, first game in charge for Carl Fletcher, there's a reason that I'm looking in the booth next to me, and Kieran is looking, he's sat very upright, he's got a big smile on his face, and that's because Leyton Orient went down to Plymouth. His team, 4-0. Big win that for Plymouth. And Plymouth actually looking pretty good, it has to be said. They're just on the verge of the playoffs at the moment. A couple of other interesting results as well. Forest Green looking good. Crewe at the top of the table. Cheltenham also strong. It's always
do you think, Rich, sorry to interrupt, but towards the end of your career, if you'd have been offered the chance to play for Plymouth, would you have taken it?
I wouldn't, personally.
Why not?
No, I wouldn't, because... no, I'll tell you what, the tough thing about... No, not the people. Don't be nasty to Kieran. Do you know the tough thing about playing for Plymouth is living in Plymouth? Not in a bad way. No, but you're so far from everything. Do you know, I went and did some talks in Barrow recently.
Oh, no.
And it made me realise...
Wait a second. Rewind. Barrow in Furness?
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
I didn't realise that in the UK you could have a town that's so far away from humanity.
That's horrible.
It's like an hour and a half from the closest motorway.
It's disgusting. Too many seagulls as well. Far too many.
Yeah.
Every single minute of every day. The whole time.
Do you know what? I have 3.5 hours of it every morning, so
okay.
it's the opposite. So, look, the point is, though, would I play for Plymouth? I wouldn't, because I value my life, I guess. It's in the nicest possible way. Okay, this sounds bad now. Not I value my life. I like to be close to London. There you go. That's how it works.
The issue is now you've said the other thing.
And I feel like I've got Kieran, each time I say a sentence, he's kind of sinking more in his chair and looking more disgusted at me with each sentence. Anyway. That rounds up the EFL. A big night of football in the EFL. As I mentioned, there's plenty more games going on tonight, and I do apologise to everyone in Plymouth. We're not national yet, are we, Kieran? No, we're not. We're not national. It's fine.
Not yet.
No, we love London. There you go.
We love London.
And all of a sudden, we're going to be this national-centric talking about Plymouth.
Oh, yeah.
Great things are happening in Plymouth.
Regular listeners are going to be just tune in a couple of weeks' time when we go national and just hear about... We're just doing a segment with the Plymouth Tourist Board.
We're doing a tribute to Barrow today.
Yeah,
I think I've incensed Kieran.
I'm incensed, Rich.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I could just turn your mic off, and me and Patrick could do the show if you want.
You could.
Yeah. It'd be far more enjoyable, actually.
But it was a good win for Plymouth yesterday.
No, it was a good win. And obviously, it must be a strange thing for Carl Fletcher to sit in the stands, watch a really good performance from Leyton Orient, win 4-0 away at Grimsby, and then his first game in charge loses 4-0. You know, that is a big, big difference, you know, an 8-goal swing in 3 days.
I think it will give him an idea as to the job he has at hand, which it's... And look, they're sat, I mean, mid-table now. Oh, they're 17th, but, you know, they're...
Well, they are 17th, but that middle...
well, this is it. They're 5 points off the playoffs, yet 10 points off relegation. That's the point.
Exactly,
So it's kind of, if anything, you'd argue that they're top half, even though they're not, and that sounds ridiculous. But they're not in a bad position. This is it. And I'm sure he's looking at it thinking, well, all right, first port of call, obviously guarantee safety, which I don't think Leyton Orient have any problems with that this season. They're more than strong enough to guarantee that. But this is the league. This is League Two, where you know, because of 4 spaces, but 7, the top 7 are either 3 promoted or the next 4 in the playoffs. You know there's a chance.
Yeah, and why is it so hard to get consistency and performance in that league? Is it the calibre of player down there, or what is it about that league?
It's a fair question. I think that... I tell you what I found the lower down was that like moments in games can have such a bigger impact. Whereas you feel, I don't know, City conceded a goal last night, you still feel they'll come back and win. Whereas I feel that sometimes the teams in League One, League Two, National League, they can be heavily impacted by something going against them. So they might be dominating early on, they concede, and you can see a team visibly crumble in front of your eyes. And that's my worry. There you go, points it out. That the fact they go away to Grimsby and win 4-0 and look very, very comfortable, excellent win. And then last night, admittedly against a tougher team, but you're talking an 8-goal swing. That shouldn't be the case. Either way, by the way, Grimsby shouldn't lose 4-0 at home to Leyton Orient in the same way that, you know, Leyton Orient really should go to Plymouth and put up a bit more of a fight. I mean, we saw some of the goals. I mean, Plymouth reasonably clinical from what I could see, but yeah, that will give him more of an idea as to the job he has got. The thing I would say, though, with any of these teams, not just Leyton Orient, but you see, you've got Mansfield just below them. Now, Mansfield are one of the favourites for automatic promotion. You know, they've spent more than anyone in that league. Yeah. So, but also, even in 18th position, you know, I'm not looking at them thinking they're written off. It's one where they just need to generate a little bit of momentum, and you find that in League One and League Two, momentum can take you a really long way.
Yeah, but I mean, even in the Championship, Rich, you remember Villa's promotion campaign. You know, they were mid-table in March, and they went on a massive run, didn't they? Of what was it, like 11 straight wins?
Yeah.
It can happen in any form of the EFL, and that's what makes it so exciting, and that's why we love the EFL so much.
It is indeed, and that's why I will be at a championship game tonight, and I'm actually genuinely buzzing to be there. Bristol City, of course, taking on Charlton tonight. We're going to be talking some back pages. We're also talking to Brian Horn, former Millwall goalkeeper, shortly.
We're also asking what song should England respond to the hacker with. This is obviously because England play New Zealand in the rugby. I'm going for Hokey Cokey.
I mean, we need something that is quintessentially British, something that we can really kind of hang our hat on, something that when we're stood there, we're proud. We're watching our boys sing something or do a dance to something.
Do the words to dance, really.
Well, it's a dance, isn't it? And you need something that's not overly complicated.
Yeah, well,
so, you know, I mean,
they've got enough. They've got to remember all the line-out routines and all that kind of stuff. So we don't want to cram their brain full of too much info.
Obviously, the beauty of the Hokey Cokey is that effectively it's...
Well, we grew up with it, didn't we?
We did. I think the words are kind of self-explanatory.
Macarena.
Oh, I mean, that's a level above. I'll tell you, we're going to talk this in more detail because it is key. We want to respond.
It's absolutely vital.
Yeah, and we want your help. 0208 70 20 558, 29 minutes past 7.
This is Love Sport.
Are you paying way over the odds for your car insurance? The spiralling costs put people off driving, full stop. But you're a careful driver, and realistically, you'll only need an insurance payout if some halfwit cuts you off on the M1. So you shouldn't be forced to pay massive car insurance premiums. And you don't have to. Go to price comparison site aspokesmansaid.com today and find out the best value car insurance deals on the market. Don't pay the price for not shopping around.
aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it...
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident, and save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel, and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it, you just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F, face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A, arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S, speech. Is their speech slurred? T, time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
Love Sport.
So I think you're right, because what we've got with this song, again, just to, for those just joining us and you're wondering why we're playing that song, and we're going to leave it on in the background, is that, of course, New Zealand do the hacker. And you kind of feel that if we've got an opportunity to maybe do something in response to strike fear, because it's an opportunity, it feels unfair that they get to do something to intimidate us, but we don't get to do something.
Well, we need something with just as much cultural relevance, don't we?
Yeah.
Something that has as much of a deep-seated traditional sense of meaning and purpose.
But also something that's not overly complicated, because I have to learn this in a short period of time. And I'm listening to the words, and I feel like this is something we could pick up pretty quickly.
Oh, straight away.
Even so, left leg in, left leg out. I feel like it again.
Wait, what happens then?
This is a worry, because we don't want. Imagine how embarrassing it'd be if we're watching the teams, and one of them gets them wrong.
Farrell's shaking it all about, and he shouldn't really be shaking it all about.
No,
he should still be in.
He should still be in. One of them's out, and then all of a sudden you've got the New Zealand lads laughing at us. We'd look like a joke. Like, if we're going to do this, we need to do it properly.
When we do this.
Well, this is it. I mean, the other one, of course, there's other songs we were thinking of. I know you had another good suggestion.
The Macarena.
The Macarena, which I think would be a really good one. Again, it's gonna really build the team spirit. No doubt it would strike fear.
100%.
It's the opposition.
Well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, it's all very well and good, New Zealand, to have the haka, which is essentially a tribal war dance.
Yeah.
But have you ever seen Ben Youngs do the Macarena?
This is it.
I could do.
I could do. I mean, it's another classic. Another one that again, I don't think the dance moves are too tough.
I'm not sure what they are for this, but I think freestyle, just hashtag freestyle.
But then if we have like all 15 lads freestyling.
Oh, yeah.
And the worry is the last thing was an injury.
Oh,
it's when one tries to then take it a little bit too far. You imagine there's sort of got the stretcher coming on in the middle of the Macarena.
Yes.
Again, we're just going to be a laughing stock. We've got to be so careful. If we're going to do this, we've got to do it properly, I'd suggest.
Yeah, no, I agree. So it is the Hokey Cokey then, yeah?
We'll go with the Hokey Cokey.
Okay,
So if you guys agree, let us know. 0208 70 20 558. I think Kieran is coming in to discuss the Hokey Cokey.
There we go.
Maybe
Hello,
not.
Kieran, mate.
Hello.
So for some reason, we have the studio set up, obviously very professionally. The mic seems to have been set up for, I'm guessing, a small child, because it's very, very low.
Yeah, I'm worried about what fan show we had on last night.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Who knows?
Who knows?
So, you here to discuss the Hokey Cokey or something else?
Well, I mean, it's based off the Hokey Cokey because why are we, putting this forward? It's because New Zealand have the haka, and we need something in retaliation.
Yeah.
And of
With
course,
equal cultural relevance.
Yeah.
And that's the important bit that you keep missing.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, centuries of Maori culture, the Hokey Cokey,
exactly,
on a level playing field.
On a par.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But a lot's been made in the back pages today of the spy storm.
Is it a storm?
Well, that's what they're going
It's a
with.
super typhoon.
Okay. Yeah, it's not, is it?
It's
because
not a
Eddie
storm.
Jones has come out and said
It's just classic
It's not
Eddie.
even in New Zealand. He was like, it could be, a Japan fan that wants to have a look at us. And he said, you can get all this stuff on YouTube now. But he does say we're going to spring a few surprises. So, there's a little bit of... it takes two to tango, I feel. And, Eddie Jones is just throwing it in there and waiting for Steve Hansen to... Because the journos love this, right? And this is what Danny Kerr said in the Telegraph. So Danny Kerr obviously just missed out on the World Cup squad, knows Eddie Jones very well. He says, Eddie says nothing by accident. There is no such thing as a slip of the tongue, and every word he says, whether for internal or external consumption, has a purpose. Which is quite a nice phrase, I think.
Yeah.
Most of the time when he says something controversial, it will be to help take the heat off the players. He's shifting the focus of attention, so suddenly everyone is talking about Eddie rather than about the squad. That is just the way he is. And it's true, because the journos are going to put this back to Steve Hansen, aren't they, the New Zealand head coach, and it's going to whip up something about the match that isn't about the match.
No. And this is where, with Checker, it was beautiful, because things like this, it just wind him up and see him go. I don't know if Hansen's the same, though. I don't know if he's going to bite on this.
No, but what it has done is it's kind of taken away any discussion about tactics, any discussion about, whether they're going to go back to Ford and Farrell or whether they're going to keep with Henry Slade. And, all that sort of talk isn't in the papers because we're all talking about a camera in an apartment block in Disneyland.
How do you respond, right? Because I always think with this, it's like where Checker got it wrong. And by the way, we've got to touch on Disneyland again.
Yeah.
Where Checker got it wrong was that he was like, Eddie Jones would say something, and it was almost like that before Eddie Jones had finished his sentence. Like, no, I haven't. What? No, we haven't. Da-da-da. He was like biting so hard. Whereas I always feel the best way to go is like a Tai Chi expert. You take the punch, you allow it to come in. I think it's Tai Chi. I might have made this up completely, so don't quote me on this. But then you retaliate with something. So you almost like take it on board, mock Eddie Jones, and then go back with something subtle. Has Hansen got that in the locker?
I'll tell you what, so wait, if we just work through that now, if I hit you now, you
I
just take
absorb
it.
the punch.
Yeah.
So I roll with it. That didn't work, did it? That really hurt me. Okay.
No one got hit in the studio. It's fine. If you're watching on YouTube, you've seen it's all a big ruse.
I have already filed a complaint to HR. This will be,
I am,
which you are, which is just ridiculous. Anyway, no, I just wonder how you retaliate to this because it's such a nonsense. It's a non-story. It's just. But you're right. He hasn't said it by accident. He's had this pre-planned. He's very clever, Eddie Jones.
And people love a spy story, don't they?
Oh.
Because, like, Bielsa, that absolutely blew up, didn't it? When the Derby, member of staff was in the bushes.
Yeah. We all thought he was
going
to
the Leeds member of staff was in the Derby bushes.
We all thought he was going to resign, didn't we? When he goes, Bielsa's press conference coming up.
He called a really random press
coming
conference
up at 6
like
p.m.
4 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And we were like, this is it. He's been told to walk here.
Yeah.
And he's just like, here's all of Derby's tactics.
Get the PowerPoint out.
Yeah.
It's a subject you know well, Patrick. Obviously, the amount of times that I've opened my wardrobe and you're there peering through, and oh, there he is again, and the amount of times I see Kieran in the closet, and it's quite a regular occurrence.
That was years ago.
This is a non-story, though. This is the point. It's
Right,
like
so do you not think he's trying to do the old double bluff here, where now it seems as though there's something worth spying on, i.e. he's going to mix up his tactics and he's going to bring something to the party that we're not expected, and then he sets us up. Tomorrow, England will play 4-4-2. Exactly the same way as they always have.
Eddie, you've got 5 more players you can use. No, 4-4-2. The northern accent.
Talking about cultural relevance, I mean, that's right up there, isn't it? My Bassett Football Manager.
No, right. I'm a fan of chess. By the way, it's a sport we don't touch on enough on Love Sport, if you ask me.
When we go national, mate, we're gonna
have chess.
Sorry,
hour.
actually, I've just remembered, guys. I've got some paint I must watch dry.
Right. The point I was going to make is that, of course, you will often make moves in order to reel them in because you've got a sneaky little thing going on behind that nobody really knows about. So, I just wonder whether this is an Eddie Jones thought process, that he's got something going on. As you say, this is a bit of a smokescreen in order then to produce something.
Potentially. Well, Danny Kerr, he does say, having said all this, I'm sure he has a legitimate reason to believe that someone was spying on that training session. There are 2 security guys with England at the moment who sweep changing rooms and training grounds every day for bugs, cameras and people. I mean, that's quite intense.
That's quite, yeah.
So there's obviously always been underhand tactics at big tournaments in any sport. Right.
Where do we sit on this? Because when Bielsa first did it, it was a massive story. This is what I loved about Bielsa, is that it was a massive story, and then it wasn't, because he came out and said, "Yep, that was me. Held my hands up. Yep, that's what we do."
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Oh, all right." Kind of expecting him to come out and deny it, and it to be a big storm, and me and you talk about it for hours on end and go into it, and it was a bit like it just killed the story dead, because you're like, "Oh, legend."
Yeah.
Sweet. But it's kind of, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Is that kind of, where do we sit on this? Is it
right? Well, look,
it's
going
tactics?
on. It's happening, isn't it? It's going on, and I think that at this kind of level of sport as well, any advantage that you can possibly get, surely you have to take.
Yeah.
I mean, if it is par for the course, then with respect, we don't play in the Fair Play League, do we? So it goes without saying, I'd do whatever it took to win.
You will. You're probably. You're probably the last person. You're probably the last person to ask on a subject like this. I think we knew what answer we were going to get. Kieran, where do you sit on it though? Like, if you could, if you had the opportunity to get an edge by doing that, by spying, is that something you'd do?
Well, it's a World Cup semi-final, isn't it? Like, this is one of the biggest games of, Eddie Jones's career, certainly. Steve Hansen's obviously been there and done it with New Zealand, but you've got to try everything. I mean, you've got to try and gain. It's marginal gains, isn't it? At this level of sport, it's going to be the fine margins that win this match. You would have thought. So if you can gain, and Danny Kerr does say, information is power.
I suppose it goes back to the point. And information, does it give you power in rugby? Does it, if you know a formation or you know certain tactics they're going to do, does it give you that much of an edge?
Yeah, I think because we're not the we speak about rugby because that's our job, but we're not the best in terms of our knowledge of the tactics and the very intricate nature of rugby. And I think, for sure, if you knew exactly what lineup,
speak for
New
yourself,
Zealand or
mate.
England
Honestly, I accurately predicted the number of touchdowns in the last game.
Hey.
Very good.
But Danny Kerr does know a thing or two about rugby, and he said the security guys I was just referring to have seriously impressive CVs. So it is a surprise that if someone, for whatever purpose, was filming the England training session, then they would have spotted them. I would be astonished if it had anything to do with New Zealand, Danny Kerr said. It was probably just a fan with a camcorder. So there we go.
I love this. It's just going to build up throughout the week. I love this. This is going to be the first of many. There's going to be a few others. There's going to be a different story that breaks today. I don't know what Eddie Jones is going to do.
Well, I've got some. If I can pop back into the control room and play some Eddie Jones audio.
Oh, go on.
Oh, please do. Oh, fantastic. We'll just.
Just
how are we going to fill this? What should we do?
Elevator music.
Okay.
That's not elevator music, is it?
Glad that's
we're going to play Eddie Jones any second now.
Just wait a second. 1 second.
Let's do it now.
Okay.
Yep.
New Zealand talk about them walking towards the pressure. Well, this week the pressure's going to be chasing them down the street. That's the reality of it. That's how we're approaching the game. We've got nothing to lose. That's the exciting thing for us.
I think that's my quote of the day. The pressure's going to be chasing them down the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. You ever been chased by pressure?
I've been chased by a few different things.
Yeah.
It's fair to say, not pressure.
No.
But yeah.
No, but you eat pressure for breakfast.
I eat pressure for breakfast. That's right, and everything else for breakfast. So look, I think it's he's got a point there about the pressure being off because they're going up against the best team in the world, pretty much. A team that is expected to beat them. If you get knocked, it's like if you go to a football World Cup and you get knocked out by Brazil. Like, all right, it happens.
Right, so England loses. This is part of the. And I know this is a big question. England lose this. Is it then an okay World Cup? Is it? Because a few people said
if we
no.
get within a few points and we lose it, then that's just fine. That's just exactly what should happen. New Zealand are a few points better than us, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, what do you guys think? 0208 70 20 558. I know a lot of people. I want to get Kieran's thoughts on this because I know a lot of people are saying that if they were to lose this, it goes down as a very disappointing World Cup, despite the fact that they've beaten Australia and they've won all their group games because it's win or bust.
Well, I don't agree with that. I'm with Patrick on this. I think New Zealand is the best team in the world, right? So if you lose and play well, which is a really, really kind of believable scenario that might well play out, then you can't say any fairer than that, can you, really? I mean, if we play well and get beat by the better side, which could happen, then, c'est la vie.
Very level-headed. England's play 2 tests in Japan next year as well.
Oh, good.
They want to visit Disneyland again.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Just in case our listeners are wondering why we keep referencing Disneyland, it's because Eddie Jones is taking the England players to Disneyland.
Yeah.
That's happened.
Which is
the
awesome.
idea of Joe Marler there with one of those hats, the little propeller on the top of it, like an ice blast drink, just shorts, just screaming because he has to queue up.
Yeah, do you reckon they get like those special passes you can get to skip queues?
Oh, yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd like that.
The Pirates of the Caribbean.
This is bad, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Yeah.
So my mate went to Disneyland with his daughter, and he was basically like, she's 7. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. He's never going to be able to afford to do it again. So he got a mobility scooter. And went round the whole thing and got to the front of every single queue. Yeah.
That's not okay, Patrick.
No.
That's not okay. Can you name him?
Lee Chaffee.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Lee, you've just been outed.
Yeah, he has, yeah.
Do you know one thing I'm concerned about?
His daughter had a great time and she went on all the rides. So,
It sounds like a fantastic day. Yeah, just cheat the system. That's
cheat
the way.
System.
Do you know what I would just say? My one concern about this, the England team going to Disneyland, what if they all get on the log flume?
Oh, no.
That log flume is taking off.
Oh, that would be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Could you imagine? 14 minutes to 8.
Last time I was in the UK, I met national treasure Mary Berry's grandmother, Elderberry.
Giving your team a voice. Love Sport Radio. Home insurance is vital. You don't want to end up paying through the nose when something goes wrong. But are you being charged way too much for your home cover? Are your insurance premiums simply too much to bear? It doesn't have to be that way. A spokesmansaid.com is a price comparison website that trawls the internet to find the best deal for you. Don't pay the price for not shopping around. Visit a spokesmansaid.com and start saving today.
A spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Whoa! Look how much saturated fat is in these chocolate biscuits. It's surprising how much is in our food and drinks. For us kids, eating too much saturated fat can lead to harmful fat building up inside, which we can't see, increasing the risk of heart disease or stroke when we get older. So be food smart. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app and start making healthier choices today.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. Whooping cough is a very dangerous illness for young babies, and at the moment it's spreading fast. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional and pass on your immunity.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. We spoke a lot of Champions League because, of course, it was a big night for both Man City and Spurs last night. And we have touched on the EFL. Now, one of the games going on last night was, of course, Millwall. And they have a new manager. And delighted to say that we have Brian Horn, former Millwall goalkeeper, who will be on the line very shortly to discuss this with us because Gary Rowett has been appointed. First, I want to ask you, Patrick, your thoughts on Gary Rowett. Of course, didn't quite happen for him at Stoke, but he has a good CV at Championship level.
Yeah, he does. I think he might be regarded, hopefully, as a safe pair of hands and somebody who's got the experience needed to just get them out of a little bit of trouble.
Indeed. Well, like I said, they did draw 2-2 yesterday with Cardiff City, a late equaliser for Bradshaw. Delighted to say that Brian was actually at the game. Morning, Brian.
Good morning, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Hope you're well too. Interesting appointment, this one. Firstly, from a Millwall perspective, obviously the game at the weekend against Brentford, a bit of a hammer blow being 2 up and conceding the 3 goals so late. So I was delighted to see that they got a result in this one, a reasonably late equaliser. How did they play?
I don't think from both sides, really, it was a particularly brilliant football game yesterday. But 2 good finishes from Bradshaw gave us a good point last night. But I think basically the goalkeepers were on top last night, I must say.
Okay, interesting. Yes, obviously Biakowski, I heard he made several fine saves. I'm interested.
Last night.
Was he? I'm interested with Millwall because obviously Millwall have a certain style, and that's been a big part of when Neil Harris came in. He very much continued that, and I know that the fans really took to him. I mean, look, I was interested to see that it didn't work out in the end, and I'd love to get your thoughts on that. But in terms of Gary Rowett, was the thinking to bring someone in who wasn't necessarily going to make too many changes, but maybe just slight improvements here and there? Is that the thinking?
I think Neil put a really good base into Millwall from when he took over to when he left. I think it's a completely different club. He's really stabilised it, and I think Gary Rowett's walked into a really well organised club on and off the pitch. Obviously, our budget is not the biggest in the division, and we're restricted to what players we can bring in. But I think we're doing all right. I don't think there's no need for panic at the Den. We're 16th. I think it's better start than what we had last season, and I think everything's going quite well at the moment.
Yeah, no, certainly a much better start than they say. There was, in fact, Millwall in trouble for large parts of last season, and so currently 15 points after 13 games. Not a bad return, which then leads me to the question, Neil Harris, given that the budget is one of the smaller budgets in the division, for me it was a surprise. I'd heard that there were a few grumbles behind the scenes. Were you surprised to see that it didn't work out?
Yeah, I was surprised that Neil decided to resign. He wasn't sacked or anything. He just thought I haven't spoken to Neil, but he decided it was time for him to leave for whatever reason. But everybody at the club was surprised. There was a few little bits and pieces in the crowd with a little bit of unrest about his style of play, as you mentioned. But I think Neil was just getting going in the 4.5 years, and I do think it was a big shock to everybody at the club when he resigned.
Are the club happy with this appointment? Because I know that Gareth Ainsworth was in the running as well. Was Gary Rowett always number one choice?
Well, I don't know about that. You're going to have to ask Steve Kavanagh on the board, but obviously he was. I think he was well regarded, and someone that they were eager to get into the club. I feel, yeah, he's got a lot of experience. He's managed three championship clubs, and it's ironic that he's going to play his first game in charge against Stoke, which was his last club. It's funny how things work out in football, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed. They're, of course, at the moment 6 points off relegation, but only 7 points off the playoffs. So they're looking up or looking down?
For me, I think obviously you always look up. You'll be a fool if you just thought you was going to get relegated. I think if we can get through to January, I'm sure he'll be working hard with the lads from tomorrow. They're off today, and he'll start working with a group tomorrow. And I'm sure he'll obviously very quickly put his own mark on how he wants things done. And then obviously upwards from there, and January window coming, you never know what happens. Just to make sure again, I think the biggest thing for me was we stay in this division, and then we can build very slowly each year and get to a place where maybe one of these years we might be challenging for a playoff place, then I think that's a great success for Millwall.
Well, this is it, right? 'Cause 2 years ago, season before last, we're verge of the playoffs towards the end of the season. You just feel I suppose so many clubs look at it where it's that lottery mentality almost. You know, if you can just have that one season in the Premier League, of course, it can completely change the landscape for a club. And it's been so long since Millwall were up there. And I guess the point of the matter, lastly, they've only had one win in the last 9 championship games. So for Gary Rowett to come in and get that winning mentality, what would be your thinking as to how he does that? Is there anything he can do instantly to get that instant impact?
No, I think obviously for me it's always great to play 2 forwards up front. In my opinion, Harry, how he's going to line up and what formations he's going to play, I don't really know. But I think Bradshaw last night, he's been out for a year and he's just getting fit now, and he's showing what a really good forward and a really good signing was from Barnsley. He scored 2 great goals last night. So as long as he keeps fit at the moment and he keeps scoring, then I think we've got a really good chance.
Great stuff. Brian, appreciate you joining us this morning.
Take care. Thank you.
Brian Horn there, former Millwall goalkeeper, talking about the appointment of Gary Rowett, of course. Millwall drawing 2-2 with Cardiff yesterday. As mentioned, they've got Stoke at the weekend. Stoke, who lost yesterday. Just touch quickly on Stoke. They did have their back-to-back wins. Yes. It was quite interesting to see Nathan Jones' celebration after both.
Yeah.
It was as if they'd won the FA Cup final each time.
It was, wasn't it? It was. I just wonder whether or not, because he's basically signed his own resignation letter numerous times. I wonder whether it was just like the outpouring of all that.
Yeah.
Of all that relief. But it just seems like he's at either one end of the spectrum or the other the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, how's it going? How's today? Oh, today's been the worst day of my life. It's absolutely shocking. I can't begin to tell you. It's been absolutely awful. What about today? Best day ever. Best day.
So is this similarities with Pochettino? We touched on it earlier. Because I can't help but feel could you imagine being the chief exec? So you've just seen Nathan Jones give his interview, and it's Nath, you've done it again. Making that Nath, you've done it again. You've resigned on air again.
We're not going to sack you.
We told you. We're giving you the season.
Stop quitting.
Stop quitting in front of our eyes. It's making it really awkward when we keep you on board.
You've got a contract.
Yeah. And in fairness to him, I mean, it sounds like they were okay last night. They lost to Sheffield Wednesday, of course, 3rd in the league at the moment. Stoke will be fine, though, won't they, long term?
In what sense?
Fine in terms of staying up, not in terms of a city.
Oh gosh, no, good. Okay. You think they might stay up? Definitely, as a city, that's sunk a long time ago.
Let's hear from Nathan Jones.
How would you assess that one?
Look, it wasn't a great game, to be fair, in terms of everything. First off, we didn't do the basics well enough, but we should have come in at 0-0 and then we could have regrouped, and we were a lot better second half and came out and had a right go, to be fair. It was a really bitty, disjointed game. That didn't help us because the injuries didn't help us because we couldn't get any fluency. We lost 3 players through injury, had to finish the game with 10 men. It meant that we couldn't do the certain things that we wanted to do, and then the errors cost us, really.
There didn't appear to be much in the game up until the point that they scored, and you were arguably growing into the match, so there must be frustration in the fact that you've conceded in the manner that you have.
Look, we knew it would be a tough game coming here because they're a direct side. The retakes take a long time because they want to go into Fletcher and they play off that, and they're very good at doing that. So we knew that it'd be a real disjointed game. It wouldn't be a fluent game. It'd be a different type of game to what we've come up with against Swansea and Fulham. But look, if we literally just put in a proper performance, then the minimum we come out of that is with a point. But it seemed to have taken us a lot out on the weekend. We were a little bit leggy first off, didn't get on second balls, allowed them to get a few balls in our box, which we on another day they wouldn't have. And then it was just a long ball and an error that undone us. Apart from that, there was nothing in the game. We had a great chance second half, a real good chance, great save from the keeper, to be fair, because Lee did very well. And then we should have had a pen. So
Nathan Jones there giving his thoughts. Some interesting fixtures tonight. Nottingham Forest have the chance of going second if they beat Hull, and Bristol City have the chance of going third if they beat Charlton. The time is 3 minutes to 8.
This is Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive, and make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Hi, I'm Barry. I'm a retired school bursar from Chingford. I thought I was paying too much for my energy and went onto a spokesman.com and found that I could reduce my costs overall by £568 per annum, and I'm very grateful for that help.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices. Oh, it's okay. Let's face it, when your kids are ill, you do anything to help them feel better. But remember, antibiotics aren't always needed. You might not realise it, but taking antibiotics when you don't need them puts you and your family at risk of a longer and more severe illness. Help keep your family well. Always take your doctor's advice on antibiotics. Search NHS antibiotics. All better.
Lots for breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you for another couple of hours. Lots to talk about. Of course, big night in the Champions League last night. We're going to be speaking to Ricky Sachs' last word on Spurs because, of course, they beat Red Star Belgrade 5-0 last night. It's all rosy again in the world of Tottenham Hotspur.
Oh, yeah, it's all fine now.
Yeah.
Everything's
There
okay.
you go.
All is forgotten.
Such a reactive industry. All of a sudden now, Spurs...
Manager of the month.
Manager of the month. Spurs are going to win the league, as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned. So we'll be
absolutely.
talking to Ricky Sachs shortly on that. We'll also be speaking to Wayne Faraday, ex-QPR and West Brom winger. Of course, there was a full list of fixtures last night. In fact, several fixtures tonight in the Championship. As well as always, you can get in touch. And we like to hear from you. I see Clive has been in touch. Thank you very much, Clive. He's on touch on YouTube, which you can just type in Love Sport Breakfast. You can call us as well, 0208 70 20 558, or WhatsApp us on that number also, or get in touch on the socials at Love Sport Radio. Stay tuned, it's 8 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 8, Downing Street's indicated Boris Johnson will push for a general election after MPs rejected his plan to fast-track Brexit legislation through Parliament. It makes the Prime Minister's promise to take Britain out of the EU by Halloween difficult to fulfil. EU leaders are poised to sanction an extension of up to 3 months. Independent MP Dominic Grieve, who had the Conservative whip removed, says Mr Johnson needs to get on with the job.
Rather than all these sort of proclamations about general elections, it's a matter for him, if he can persuade the House to have a general election. I would have thought it was rather more sensible to take a sensible extension and see if he can get this bill through.
Twice as many young children are suffering with anorexia than previously thought, according to a study. It's found significant rises in the number of 8 to 12-year-olds being treated by psychiatrists. MPs have called for some drug offences to be decriminalised to stop a rise in the number of deaths. The Health Committee claims current laws are clearly failing. Amazon's denied accusations that it's failed to stem a flood of suspicious and fake reviews for products on its site. Consumer group Which claims inaccurate information risks misleading millions of customers. In sport, Raheem Sterling's mum will be getting yet another match ball after he scored a hat-trick in Manchester City's 5-1 thrashing of Atalanta in the Champions League. The England international has revealed he sends them off to his mum's house in Jamaica. His performance drew huge praise from City boss Pep Guardiola.
His physicality is incredible. He's strong. The day after the game, he could play another game. His regeneration is incredible. So him playing on both sides, he's fast. Defensively, help us a lot. So he's an extraordinary player.
And children watching just one episode of Britain's Got Talent saw more than 4.5 minutes of ads for unhealthy food. As studies analysed the commercials shown during 6 live episodes. That's the latest. I'm Kieran Bangle.
Love Sport.
Smooth, rich, Costa's premium filter coffee. Just £1.
You what? Hang on, I think there's a typo in here. It says £1. For a coffee? Oh, okay.
Perfection comes at a price, a surprisingly low one. Enjoy Costa's premium filter coffee, just £1. Primo size only in participating stores until the 31st of October, subject to availability. See costa.co.uk/terms for full T's and C's.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Morning, Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio. Me, Richard Lee. Patrick Christys has touched on the headlines this morning. 5-star performances from both Spurs and City, both teams scoring 5 goals in their Champions League wins. The back page has gone hard on the spy storm as Eddie Jones accuses someone of filming their training sessions. Sol Campbell, appointed manager of Southend, and then watches his team lose 7-1 at home. New Zealand have prepared for kicking shootout if England match finishes level after extra time. Also, the Nike chief executive to leave the role just weeks after the Nike Oregon project closes down. He will now become Nike's executive chairman in January. We're going to be talking about that and so much as always over the next hour or so. 2 hours, sorry. Myself, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. We're going to start or continue with the Champions League because it was a really positive night for both of our English clubs last night. Both City and Spurs victorious. City, of course, coming back from 1 goal down against the tough Atalanta team, has to be said, who are going along very nicely in Serie A. But a comfortable victory in the end. Raheem Sterling, the star, a hat-trick, involved in all 5 goals. Here's one for you, Patrick. Raheem Sterling always gives his mum the match ball after he scores a hat-trick.
Oh, yeah, he sends it off to a house in Jamaica, apparently.
There you go. Well, he will have had another match ball, of course, last night.
Do you reckon you open the front door and it just all comes tumbling out? Just balls everywhere. It's like a level on Donkey Kong.
Yeah, and you're having to hurdle them.
Yeah.
There would be now. The number of hat-tricks that he's got, but not just that, just the number of goals. We're talking a lot about him at the moment in terms of where he's at on a world stage. And I have to say, he's got to be up there now. He's got to be, top 5, if not top 3 for me.
I think definitely top 3. And let's be honest, Messi's been out. I know he's had a bad calf injury, but Messi hasn't been out of the races so far this year. Cristiano Ronaldo is Ronaldo, but I would argue that Raheem Sterling's had more potency about him. So actually, are we looking at the best?
Well, here's one. So 23 goals in 17-18, 25 goals in 18-19. This season already, 12 goals.
Yeah.
So he's already nearly halfway, and we're in October still.
He's just relentless with it. He's
going to become Ronaldo and Messi. They got to the point where they're a goal a game.
Yeah.
And I think at one point they were more than a goal a game.
Yeah.
Sterling's getting there. If he's not there already, he's getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's the whole thing. It's the whole package. It's not just his finishing, which, let's be honest, used to be a bit wayward. It used to always be the joke about him, didn't it? That's obviously fine now. He's always been able to beat a man. We always know about his pace, but it's the positions that he occupies as well, and just how every single time he has the ball, something's going to happen.
It's the movement and it's how clinical he is. I touched on it earlier, but it was the goal for me where the moment he got the ball, if you're going to do percentages, I expect him to score more than he doesn't now. He got the ball, he still had a defender to beat, yet I knew he was going to beat the defender because he's got the skill level, he's got the touch, ball comes in, shifts left, goes right, and then cuts it back across the goalkeeper. Just a brilliant finish, but just so clinical. And I feel that now where if there's anybody in the world that I want to be in that position, he would be the number 1 player for me. I think of anyone that, you think of all the top players, even a Ronaldo and Messi, ball comes in that position, I don't think they've got the turn of pace that Sterling's got to get away from the man and get that shot off.
Yeah, when he puts an England shirt on, I haven't seen anything like that since early years Wayne Rooney. Yeah.
There you go. So, look, big win for City. They're looking very comfortable.
Oh, John Stones as well. So this was the other plot from last night. So Pep Guardiola wanted to bring John Stones on. By the way, John Stones like he's let himself go. Have you seen his beard? It's like a man who's given up.
Do you think there's something going on there?
Yeah, he's the type of guy you see wandering around Tesco's in his dressing gown, just squabbling over exactly which type of milk they want to get. I don't know what is going on with John Stones, but he's not at the races. And anyway, Pep wanted to bring him on last night. And then look round, and John Stones just wasn't ready to come on.
Well, Pep did lose his cool with John Stones after he wasn't ready to replace the injured Rodri. Do you know, I've had this at clubs I've been at, and it's something that, it is funny, even now, if you're a substitute, you know that you could get called at any second. So the whole point is, look, all right, you're not playing the game, but you need to be ready to come on 30 seconds notice, because that's what it is. The second someone goes down and that substitute needs to happen there and then, really, if you're sat on the bench, in my opinion, you should have your shin pads on. You should be good to go, and it should just be a case of having to put your shirt on and on you go. And it does make me wonder, and it does make me question how many you see that will suddenly get the call, and it's almost like they get fully changed on the sideline. You're like, you're needed now. Get ready. And it must be so frustrating for a manager when the player isn't ready.
Exactly. So that's quite a bad look because he's found chances quite hard to come by so far this season, and there he is. They're about to be brought on. He's not ready for it, which isn't great.
Yeah. Well, let's hear Pep on Sterling.
His physicality is incredible. He's strong. The day after the game, he could play another game. His regeneration is incredible. So I'm playing both sides. He's fast. Defensively, help us a lot. So it's an extraordinary player.
He's got a lot of love for Raheem right now, and not surprising.
No, not at all. I think Raheem Sterling's just magnificent. Hat-trick last night, of course. Phil Foden is the other talking point from last night. Of course, got his first ever red card.
Yes.
Pep said he won't be fining him, though.
No, well, it shouldn't have been a red card for me. It's as simple as that. It was the first one in particular was never a booking, and the second one, the only thing you would say, and this is where he's young, and again you learn, would be when you are on a booking, you have it at the front of your mind that you're on a booking, and I think you play the game according to that, rightly or wrongly. You have to, because of course, look, they were 5-1 up at the time. It didn't mean anything, and it's an irrelevance, and it was harsh. But if that game's still at 1-1, if that game's at 1-0 down, then that's the kind of thing where we could be talking all about Phil Foden this morning and how costly it could have been to the team. However, I understand why Pep's quite clever in terms of how he manages his players. My bet is that he comes out publicly like he has and says, I'm not fining him, shouldn't have been a red, but privately he'll say to him, look, if you're on a yellow, regardless whether you deserve that yellow or not, it doesn't matter. If you're on a yellow, you've got to be so careful. And it was such a silly one, the second one, where it probably is a booking, just... yeah, but it'd be a frustrating one, certainly for a manager.
Absolutely. Okay, Spurs. Another 5-star performance from them. Harry Kane scored his 18th goal in the Champions League last night, 16 of which have come in the group stages. Only Paul Scholes, as an Englishman, has more Champions League group stage goals than Harry Kane. Son Heung-min also got a double last night. That meant he scored 7 goals at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That's more than any player since Spurs moved into their new ground. He's flying, isn't he, again?
It really is. Well, let's hear from Harry Kane, who says they're not getting carried away.
It's exactly what we needed, a great performance, a lot of energy, plenty of goals, clean sheet. So, the perfect night. But it doesn't stop here, as you know. It's a game we was expected to win, so we've got a very tough game on Sunday that hopefully we can take this momentum into that.
What do you make of Harry's words?
Well, I think he's obviously making some really good points in it, and he's a good guy.
So there's certain impressions that I know you really pride yourself on. Steve Bruce being a classic that we haven't heard for a while, actually. I mean,
No, we haven't.
It's a shame there's been no Newcastle news in the last
It's
few
only
days.
a matter of time.
Yeah, there will be. I'm sure we'll hear from Steve Bruce at some point again very soon. Harry Kane as well. I feel like this is one that you're developing over time.
It's getting there.
Yeah.
It's getting there. It does take work.
Work in progress.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're practicing relentlessly in the evenings.
Oh, big time. To the point where my girlfriend's like, "Can you just stop that?"
Yeah.
And I say,
"What's this? The accent?"
I absolutely won't stop that. I've got a show to do.
Yeah, she's really proud of your progress, though, right?
Oh yeah.
Proud. But look, big win for Spurs. Like I said, we're going to be speaking to Ricky Sachs very shortly to get the insight on that. Let's talk a bit of Sol Campbell. Sol Campbell's back in work. Of course, he left Macclesfield.
This is brilliant.
Do you know what? It's right. So first and foremost, well done, Sol Campbell. Did a really good job at Macclesfield,
Hats off, Sol.
and it's a step up. I mean, look, could he have gone slightly higher? I mean, he did a very good job at Macclesfield. I know he's been quite outspoken in terms of opportunities, but look, he's gone from League 2 to League 1. Admittedly, a team that are struggling in League 1. So he watched them. He didn't take charge, has to be said. Did not take charge yesterday because he was appointed, and he went and watched the first game just to get an idea as to what he's got to work with. And what does he have to work with, Patrick?
Well, they lost 7-1. But I really like the idea that he's come into the changing room afterwards or gone into the boardroom and been like, what a performance that was. Wow, I tell you what, fantastic. No, so we were the ones playing in red, mate. What? Oh, no.
I got to work with them.
Oh, that lot is a rabble.
Indeed, yeah, it wasn't a particularly good night for Mr. Well, I say it's not a particularly good night for Sol Campbell.
Well, Sol Campbell is famous for many things, of course, being an imperious, imposing centre-back with a good reading of the game, strong physicality and a good amount of footballing intelligence. He also ran for Mayor of London. And we have now... Very badly.
Okay.
And we now have, courtesy of LBC, a mashup of some of Sol Campbell's best bits.
I'm a big fan on one of my ideas. I'm still working through. I've still got people looking and crunching the numbers with some of my ideas. Yes, you'll have mavericks. That's in every industry. You'll have people who want to go off on a tandem. All these kind of things. I've got a lot of ideas. I've got people working on these ideas to crunch the numbers.
What do you have, Sol? What does Sol have that Zach Goldsmith doesn't have?
I think with all the candidates, what you can say is that I can connect with a lot of voters out there, a lot of London people. I'm a big fan of having satellite hubs for small, medium-sized enterprises. I think we have to look at pricing, things like that, clever ways of doing things. One of the things I think black taxis could do, and the Mayor of London could help, is with maybe changing to electric. That's what it's all about. I'm not on another planet here. My eyes are open and I know what's happening.
What are they going to hear from Sol Campbell on housing?
Housing? We need 50,000. I've lived the life. Yes, I've had a fantastic football career, but don't put that against me. Don't put that against my talent. I'm looking at a scenario which I've been kind of thinking about, and I've got people looking at the figures and see if they can kind of crunch the numbers.
He's got my vote. If he just keeps crunching those...
Go on a
tandem. And if he just keeps crunching those numbers, we're going to get there in the end.
I've got people looking at him.
I love the amount of thought that went into the... How many houses do we... 50,000.
We need 50,000 houses. Yeah. Okay.
Look, he's got my vote. Anyway, I feel like you're mocking Mr. Campbell
I am.
here. Yeah, you are.
It's laughable, isn't it?
Well, I mean, why did he run for mayor?
Oh, I don't know. I think he just wanted to prove he could still run anywhere.
Right. I don't know. But by the way, look, going back to a positive, he did a brilliant job at Macclesfield. How they stayed up, I'll never know. This is more so his calling, right?
Southend?
Well, no, management is more his calling. Like, look, he knows football inside and out. I get the impression from that interview he knows less about politics than me.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Shocking. I want satellite hubs for small, medium-sized enterprises. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But look, provided he crunches the numbers,
as long as those numbers get crunched. Do you reckon that's what he just says to his team? And they're like, "So we're on in 10 minutes, mate. Is there any way you could just tell us the lineup? I've got people working on it."
Yeah. Look, you won 2-1 today, guys. So we crunched the numbers. I think we're now bottom of the league.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Chris Powell on Sol Campbell.
I think he was very underestimated the job he did there. He's going into a similar one now at League One level, but I'm sure he'd be thinking, I can do this. I've seen this before.
Yes, Powley. Right, so Sol Campbell, he's gone in as manager of Southend. Okay, I wonder if he can ever live that down, that LBC interview, because that's the kind of thing, surely now if you're Sol Campbell, you look back on that and you cringe a little bit.
I'm not sure that Sol Campbell does.
Do you not think?
No, and I think that's the concern, isn't it? This is a man who wanted to build a moat around his own house.
Yeah. Do you think Sol Campbell talks about Sol Campbell in the third person?
100%.
I want to be like that.
Sol Campbell definitely talks about Sol Campbell in the third person.
I'd love to be that guy. Like, how cool would that be? It'd be cool, and I wouldn't be cool.
Mo Farah does it, and it was awful.
Yeah. You see, Richard Lee wants to go to a bit of it doesn't sound right.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Right. And actually, it's made me like you less.
Has it?
I don't. Yeah,
I was pretty low anyway.
Yeah, really low. But anyway, right. Okay, Sol Campbell, Southend, bit of a nightmare.
There you go, round that one up. Right, we're going to be talking to Ricky Sachs. Last word on Spurs.
We went into good detail there.
Next.
I gave Kim Jong-un the upper hand, but only a tiny one.
This is Love Sport.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it, sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Hi, I'm Dean. I work for a successful shipping company in Suffolk. Ever since I heard about people's success with the spokesmansaid.com, I knew I had to investigate for myself. Every time I need to compare car insurance, home insurance and energy bills, I always contact a spokesmansaid.com. This year alone, I saved over £260 on my car insurance and also £585 on my energy bills. I saved big through a spokesmansaid.com, and you could too.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident, and save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel, and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Love sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys, here with you until 10 a.m. Of course, it was a big night in the Champions League last night. A couple of wins for our British teams. A good win for Man City, winning 5-1 against Atalanta. And, of course, Spurs back to winning ways, 5-0 against Red Star Belgrade. Who better than the man himself, Ricky Sachs? Last word on Spurs to go through it with us. Morning, Ricky.
Morning there, chaps. How you doing? You okay?
We're good. A much happier day for Spurs fans this morning.
Oh, that felt good. We needed that. That felt really good.
Yeah, well, talk to me, because, I mean, I watched most of this game. They look good. I mean, look, for a start, Red Star Belgrade weren't great, but this is the kind of game that Spurs needed, wasn't it? A game where they could regain a bit of confidence. Nice to see Harry Kane get himself a couple of goals. I was really impressed with Ndombele. Yeah, look, you take it away. What did you think last night?
Yeah, I think we saw what epitomised Mauricio Pochettino's Tottenham since he walked through the door on that first day at the club. You know, that high pressing, movement, skill, quality, composure across the pitch. And that's what we've been missing from this Tottenham team, certainly over the last 2 or 3 months. And that's the return back to what we're used to under Mauricio Pochettino's Spurs. I think we played really, really well. And I think, again, the opposition might not be the greatest, but you can only beat what's in front of you. And I thought we played ever so well under the circumstances. I think when you look at the fact that we've dropped the one-to-way players as such, like Christian Eriksen, Danny Rose and Toby Alderweireld, I think that may have made a bit of a statement. I hope now he goes with a similar squad for Liverpool. I think what was key was that selection. You've got players in there that, to some degree, you'd like to think they're committed to the football club. They've got 100% focus on where they want to be, what they want to do, and how much they're willing to give to the team. And I think you saw that. I mean, even at 5-0, Eric Lamela is chasing a ball down by the corner flag. And that's what this Tottenham team have missed. That real desire, that passion, that aggression. And we saw it all come back in that game last night. And it was a pleasure to see it.
What happened? Where did it come from? Because it has been lacking, hasn't it?
I mean, it has, that's being fair. And honestly, Pat, I don't really know the answer to that one. Only Maurizio does. You know, he offered very little of an explanation after the game. You know, he has said it's been difficult. I think, listen, we know that Champions League journey, that was kind of, for me, the end of a cycle. And he's now having to do a rebuild of the squad. And that's not going to be easy. And by no means that win last night doesn't paper over many of the cracks. You know, there's still a lot of hard work to do. We've got Liverpool next, my God. So that could be a real coming down to earth. But I think, I said last night, you can only beat what's in front of you. But what really stood out for me was a player of Tungi and Dembele's quality. Many people in the summer may have raised some eyebrows. A summer signing of real high value at 63 million. But I think in a couple of years' time, that will be a snip. I think he's a truly world-class player, built for the Champions League stage. He's going to be a wonderful player for Tottenham. And I think at 22 years old, he's got his peak years still to come. And they're going to be a wonderful football club. So a real star in the making there in Tungi and Dembele. And obviously pleased to see Giovanni Lo Celso come back. Obviously he's been injured, so it's great to see him back on the field. But players like Lamela, I think Eric Lamela, for me, when he was brought into the club, he was kind of seen as being the next kind of player to Gareth Bale. Never really come off, but my God, does he work so hard for this team. And that's why Mauricio Pochettino still has faith in him, sticks by him, plays him when he can, because he does give you that 100% commitment and effort, and he does make up for maybe his lack of quality in what he gives you in that desire, that aggression, that high pressing, which we are renowned for under this manager.
You've already given him a bit of a glowing tribute there, but I did want to touch a little bit more on Ndombele because, yeah, I'm really impressed. He just looks like he controls that midfield. And actually, the fifth goal, wasn't it, that he set up for Harry Kane? Obviously, great finish from Harry Kane, very clever finish. But again, the vision as well seems to be there. He does seem to be the whole package. Is the issue just keeping him fully fit?
Well, I think also he's having to adapt to a new league. I mean, I think it's well documented when you compare the French league to the Premier League. It's at a completely different place, a different standard. He's coming into a dressing room, which I think, to be fair, when you're coming into somewhere where the whole dressing room isn't fully committed, it is very hard to deal with. And I think he's having to manage that situation, also get up to Mauricio Pochettino's training methods, which, you know, can be quite vigorous. But I think, you know, from what we've seen so far, he's going to be an absolute star in the making. And I've got no doubt, as I said, that transfer fee in a couple of years' time, it's going to look like a snip, because from what we've seen of him so far, just the glimpses, he's going to be a truly world-class player for me. And his movement, his ability to pick out a pass, he's even got some goals in as well. So I think he is the whole package. And I'm just so excited to see him continue to grow in a Tottenham Hotspur shirt. and hopefully he can do the business again for us against Liverpool.
Do you think that this could be the platform that almost kick-starts Spurs' season properly now?
I'd like to think so, Pat, but if I'm being honest with you, with Tottenham, what we haven't really seen in this last 2 or 3 months is a consistent run of results. It's been a win, then followed by a loss or followed by a draw. What Tottenham need to do now, if they can, is go on a run. So we've got no pressure next. It's only Liverpool, so I'm sure that'll be an easy game to put our minds to.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see. I mean, it's a really tough game next, Liverpool. You know, we can play our very, very best and still come away with a defeat there just because of the nature of the opposition. But I do believe in this Tottenham team. You know, this Spurs team, as I've said numerous times, have got the ability on their day to beat anyone. And there's absolutely no reason why Tottenham can't go to Liverpool on Sunday and get a result. And I know that would surprise a lot of people. But for me, I know the quality of this Tottenham team, and so do the supporters. They know that this team has got the ability to beat anyone. And Liverpool should be worried. You've got Harry Kane, Lucas Moura, Heung-min Son, Dele Alli. You know, there's a lot of quality in this Tottenham team. And I think some people forget just how good this Tottenham team is when they click. And hopefully what we saw against Red Star Belgrade was the beginning of them really clicking this season. And we really needed that result, I think, to lift the fans. Bit of positivity around the place. It's not nice being negative about the club, negative about the manager. He needed that result as well. And by God, I think you saw any questions about his future. They played for him last night, most certainly.
Definitely. Lars, just want to touch on the Red Star Belgrade fans because, of course, they were banned last night. But according to reports, one report says at least 150 Red Star Belgrade fans defied a UEFA ban in order to attend this game. Another one says that over 200 fans, and they were sat in the Spurs end. How much do you know about this?
Well, over there, I think also one of my colleagues, Jamie from the Daily Hotspur, was there as well, and he ended up getting forced out of his seat. So, it's really disappointing. I know Tottenham, from what we understand, have launched a full investigation, and they need to get to the bottom of that. I mean, as we know, the stadium wasn't full, but, I mean, you have to question how those fans have got those tickets and have managed to get into that stadium, and that is really, really concerning. You know, a high-profile, top European game in the Champions League, that simply can't happen. And I'm sure Tottenham Hotspur officials will be working to eradicate that from ever happening again in the future.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Ricky, as always, thank you.
Thank you, chaps. Thanks so much.
Cheers,
Ricky Sachs there. Last word on Spurs. Really positive night for Spurs, of course, beating Red Star Belgrade 5-0. It was exactly what they needed, wasn't it?
It is quite funny, though, isn't it? Where it's like a week or two ago, it's, oh my gosh, maybe Potter's run his course. I don't know, really, if this current crop of players are any good. Maybe we just need to refresh, and now it's like Liverpool have got to be worried. Let me tell you that much. Liverpool they're going to be absolutely bricking it.
Hey, we are in a reactive industry. Plus, me and you were both very fickle.
Oh, so fickle.
So fickle.
So fickle.
Even with each other, it's amazing how I literally go from 1 minute liking you to the next absolutely despising you.
Yeah,
so fickle.
Same.
Yeah.
I've started doing a thing which is I'll get up in the ad breaks and I'll think about never coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So strange. Anyway, we'll laugh it off. Let's talk about weird fines.
Oh, okay.
So, Odell Beckham Jr. fined $14,037 because his pants failed to cover the knee area. Want to talk about ridiculous fines in sport? We do have our very own Kieran Wellington, who is going to give us some more fines.
Talking of ridiculous things.
That is I. Hey, how are you?
We are very, very well. Thank you.
Funnily enough, these sort of things really do rear their head in America because...
Full of weirdos.
Well, do you know what I will just touch on? I want to give you some fines that we used to have.
Yes.
The training ground. They got a little bit personal.
Go on.
Well, like bad odour became a fine.
But you can't have that. I'd find people on the tube. If someone gets on public transport and they smell like the back of an earring, get in the seat.
Really?
Yeah.
To be fair, like when we're on the tube at 5 in the morning, you do see some interesting characters, don't you, Patrick?
Well,
yeah.
Would it be all right, like, if you're on the tube, to hand out a fine to someone there? Should we, like people power, where you're able to just go and give someone a fine just because they've, I don't know.
Yeah. You should like a smell warden.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you can execute like a civil arrest, can't you? So why not civil fines?
It's a thought.
That's a good point, actually.
So go on, you got some high-profile ones, I believe.
Okay. Well, yes, I do indeed. So have you ever heard of the milk challenge, Rich?
Oh, go on.
Well, the rules are quite simple. The person must drink an entire gallon of milk in under 60 seconds without vomiting.
Yeah, that's doable.
I'd give that a really good go, I reckon.
Yeah.
So the Marlins, the baseball team, they tried this. Brad Penny from the Marlins, he was offered a $500 reward if he could do it. Nice little wager in the dressing room.
Go on.
Well, the bat boy drank all of the milk well under the time limit.
Fantastic.
But was simply unable to keep it down.
Ooh.
And he vomited in front of a team of big leaguers. And the Marlins then fined and suspended him for 6 games.
No! That's really hard. So he tried. I mean, you talk about risk and reward.
Suspended him for 6 games.
You talk about risk and reward. So for the chance of $500, and bear in mind, I know what kind of contracts these baseball players are on. We're not talking pennies. He's probably been fined multiples of that and banned for 6 games.
Well, he did vomit in front of everyone.
Yeah, what an idiot.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
He said to the papers afterwards, it's kind of ridiculous that you get a 10-game suspension for steroids and a 6-game suspension for milk.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Anyway, go on, what else we got?
Pablo Sandoval, at a recent Red Sox game, he was caught violating the team's social media policy when he liked the photos of Diva_Legacy. Apparently, Sandoval grabbed his phone during a trip to the toilet, and rather than catching up on world news or studying a scouting report, the portly third baseman was checking out and liking 2 of Diva Legacy's photos while going to the toilet. He was suspended for 1 game without pay.
Really? Wow.
Let's have a look at Diva Legacy.
Yeah, check it out. By the way, how would you feel if you got described as the portly co-presenter?
The portly co-presenter.
No one wants to be described as portly.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
No, I mean, it could be worse. I've been caught much worse.
Yeah, you allowed to say, or...?
What time is it? No, I'm not.
You're not. Okay, Kieran, anything else on these crazy fines?
Yeah, I mean, Mario Balotelli, I won't read out this statement, but he basically issued a racist anti-racism statement.
Oh.
Because Mario Balotelli's stupid, right? And he was fined $39,000 and suspended for 1 game because it was deemed anti-Semitic.
I do wonder with these, like the level of fines. It does seem strange when, like, a nation can be fined a smaller amount for, a load of their fans being racist, and an individual. Who was it? Was it Nicholas Bentner with the
Paddy Power?
Paddy Power, yeah. But of course, Huddersfield got a sizable fine as well, didn't they, for their antics with the shirt sponsor, the sash that they had. Which...
I really genuinely thought that was true when that came out. Like Paddy Power, but apparently, like. It's against the rules, isn't it, of the EFL, I think.
Yeah.
So it's the sponsor has to be a certain size. But yeah, I mean, incredible that Huddersfield got fined pretty much more than Slovakia have for racism. Yeah. It's just a bit ridiculous. But in terms of the Odell Beckham Jr. thing and the fact that his shorts,
didn't cover his knee.
Yeah. This has actually happened before. So in the NBA, they've given out fines for players wearing shorts that are too long. So in 2005, Allen Iverson, Stephen Marbury, Jermaine O'Neal and Andre Miller, along with at least 9 other players, were each fined $10,000 for wearing shorts that were too long during the first weeks of the season.
Who cares? Who cares about that? Why would you... Can you imagine sitting down and go, oh, well, we better fine them £10,000 because their shorts aren't regulation size. You know what I mean? Who cares?
These impressions are just getting...
No, but it is the stuff. No, there are rules. There are rules. We've got to stick to the rules. Come on.
You do this far too well. I feel like you've sat on this committee before.
No. It's the type of person that as you're driving, always go, watch out, it's a blind corner. It's a blind corner. Shut up, Gary.
That sounds, no joke, that does sound like my driving instructor.
Really?
Every single lesson, you're speeding.
Oh, mate. Right, I think we should start a Twitter poll. Did you or did you not want to break your driving instructor's nose? Right? Because, oh, mate, it was shocking. I once had one, right, who, my very first lesson, he let me do 80 on the motorway.
Okay.
Actively encouraged it. And then he'd say things when we were on a country lane and someone went to overtake me. He'd say things like, go on, make it hard for him.
No.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What? Yeah, go on, make it hard for him.
Are you sure he was qualified?
No. And then I got a speeding ticket because he was just on his phone looking down. And we had like an entire driving lesson where he didn't really say anything. I just drove around rural Cheshire for an hour and got back and I'd got a speeding ticket.
It sounds completely different to mine. Mine was 10 to 2. I was like, oh, come on, mate. My hands are pretty much there. 10 to 2.
Yeah.
Honestly. Anyway, we're going to be talking to Wayne Faraday, ex-QPR and West Brom winger, after this.
This is Love Sport.
Join me, Ewan Thomas and the Posh Boys here on Love Sport Drive this Friday as we count down to the Rugby World Cup semi-finals. All the build-up to England versus New Zealand and a massive weekend of football, all on Love Sport.
Love Sport.
Fed up with extortionate bills? Stop wasting your money. A Spokesman Said is the leading price comparison site that can help you make big savings. Visit aspokesmansaid.com for the best deals on your car, home and travel insurance.
Spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not, but with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Hi, my name's Bob. I'm a retired civil servant from Durham. I used the advice that a spokesman said gave me to haggle with Sky to reduce my monthly payments from £86 per month to £43 per month, which was a saving of £774 over the 18-month contract. A nice little result, if I say so myself, but it was only due to a spokesman said on his brilliant advice that I was able to do a deal for the new contract.
With aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus to stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
This is Love Sport.
Last for breakfast, me, Richard Lee. Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Of course, we talked about the Champions League last night. Good night for our English clubs, both City and Spurs successful. And of course, there were lots of fixtures in the Championship. Lots more tonight as well. And delighted to say we've got Wayne Faraday, ex-QPR and West Brom winger, to go through a couple of those games with us. Morning, Wayne.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning. A couple of draws to talk about. Firstly, I want to touch on QPR, which will be a bit of a frustrating one for them. Had such a good start to the season. And, of course, last night they could have gone second with a win, but twice pegged back by Reading. They'll be a little bit disappointed with that one, you'd think.
Yes, definitely, mate, definitely. But I was at the game. And, yeah, it wasn't their best performance of the season by far. And to be honest, I was at the end of the game. I was quite happy with the point. Really, I was quite happy to get something out of the game.
Really, was it quite poor on the night, QPR?
Yeah, it was just one of them games. I don't know if it was a little bit of complacency or whatever, but first half, Reading were the better side by far. But we took the lead against the run of play, and like you say, at the end of the day, we would have probably. Last season we got beaten that game, but yeah, I think overall Reading were the better side.
Of course, Mark Bowen, who's taken over at Reading. So I did wonder whether we might see the whole new manager bounce, which it sounds like we did to an extent, because Reading haven't been particularly good this season. How did they look?
To be honest, they looked a decent side last night, I must admit. Like you say, we didn't play well at all. Compared to how we've been playing this season. But Reading, they came and they dug in, and like you say, first half they were better side. They were better side by quite a margin. I was amazed looking at that performance where they are in the table. But yeah, they came, they performed well, and they got a well-deserved draw.
Just to touch on Mark Warburton, because look, QPR don't have the biggest budget in the division by any stretch of the imagination, yet he's come in there, and certainly the last few seasons, I think if I'm right in thinking 18th, 19th, around that, those kind of positions the last few seasons. So for him to come in and have had the impact that he has, people around QPR must be so happy with the work he's doing.
Yeah, you can't argue, Patrick, to be fair, what he's done. I mean, being honest, I was expecting... Hopefully not a season like last season where it was real tough and, as you say, ended up 19th, just outside the relegation zone. But I said at the start of the season to the fans that if we finish mid-table, I would be, I'd be very happy with that. But in saying that, the start they've had, there's a lot of people around the place amazed at that. But quite happily amazed with that. He's done a fantastic job. And like you say, it was just last night was just one of them performances. They just didn't get going. But overall, I'm amazed where we are. Happily amazed where we are there.
Yeah, it's interesting. He was my manager for a period of time. And it's funny watching his career now from afar because he did so well at Brentford. I mean, he did very well at Rangers. Let's be honest. He got them promoted to the top flight there and only had a brief period of time at Notts Forest. But it just felt like all of a sudden he was cast aside. And for a long period of time, you wondered whether he'd come back at a good level, whether he'd come back at Championship level. But really, his CV is very strong. Got Brentford promoted, of course, as well. So I guess it's not a huge surprise to see him doing as well as he's doing at QPR. And I mean, hindsight's a great thing, but it does feel like a really good fit so far.
Yeah, it is. It definitely. I think there was obviously a few murmurs, reservations around the club, obviously with his Brentford ties. Yeah. But we all know how well he done there. And at the end of the day, like you say, he's come in, and his CV, you can't argue with that, as you've said. Yeah. He's done it wherever he's been. But obviously we knew how the last few seasons have gone for us, so we knew it'd be a tough task for him. But as you say, he's come in. He's got them a lot fitter than what they were. He's got them more confident, and we know what confidence can do throughout a side. And they all want to play, and they all want to play for him.
Do you think they can keep it going? Obviously, fourth in the league at the moment, 23 points, 13 games, good return. From what you've seen, have they got the strength in depth, do you think, to be able to keep this going throughout the season?
I think over when we get to Christmas time, I think we'll know where or whereabouts we're going to be. It's fantastic at the minute, and some of the results away from home, have been amazing. But I think, like you say, give it another month or two, and over Christmas, I think we'll know if we're still up there, we're still there or thereabouts. Who knows where it can end up? But I think it's going to tell more of a story by then, because watching every home game this season and a few away, there's only one side, which is West Brom, that have really looked a peg above us. So yeah, it's looking good at the minute, and. Like you say, Christmas time, I think if we're still there, who knows?
Which moves us on nicely. Another one of your ex-clubs, West Brom, who, again, a disappointing night for them, although in the end probably happy to get the point, given that they were 2-0 down against Barnsley. For me, this game sums up the Championship. Top against bottom, top at home, bottom away. Yeah. You would think this would be 4 or 5-0, and this is why we love the Championship, right, in that it can throw up results like this.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because, before last night's game at the Kian, I said if we get one goal there, we'll score 3 or 4, and I felt the same at West Brom. If they got an early goal against Barnsley, it would be 3 or 4. But it just shows you, as you said, everybody in this league can beat anybody. Results can be crazy at times, and that one for me more so than ours was I expected West Brom to go out there the way they've been playing to easily win that 2 or 3 last night.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, even looking at that. Sometimes you see with games like this that they might nick a point, but actually both teams with 11 shots, both teams with 3 shots on target. Yes, West Brom had the better of the possession, but there wasn't a great deal in it last night. Disappointing night, certainly, for West Brom. But you're right, they have looked strong on the whole. I know Romain Sawyers, who joined them in the summer, has made a bit of a difference. Do you expect West Brom to be top 2 this season, or do you think more realistically playoffs?
I would expect them. Seen them at Rangers. I would expect them from that performance and what I've seen so far to be top 2. I would definitely. And they're bringing this Pereira in as well. He looks a quality player as well as Sawyers. I would expect them to be top 2. Funny enough, I'll be there on Saturday. I'm going to go up there and do the hospitality against Charlton on Saturday, which will be a tough game. So I'll see them close on Saturday. But yeah, for me, I think they look a very good side. Obviously, apart from last night's result, and I expect them to be in the top 2.
Funnily enough, I'm actually off to watch Bristol City Charlton tonight myself. It's incredible to see what Charlton are doing. In fact, a win tonight for Charlton could potentially see them go second in the table, which is just extraordinary. But you're right, it will be a tough game, that West Brom Charlton at the weekend. In fact, an interesting quote from Slaven Bilic last night: "There are no free lunches in life, not to mention the Championship." Which, that's a slight, an interesting turn of phrase. But look, Wayne, appreciate you joining us this morning.
No worries, guys.
Great
no
stuff.
worries. Thank you very much.
Wayne Faraday, ex-QPR West Brom winger, giving us the thoughts on QPR last night and West Brom, of course. Both teams drawing a very interesting championship, as it always is. Patrick, no one seems to be running away with the championship. They never do they? It's always quite a tight affair. And you're looking, you've got West Brom, Leeds, both look strong. Leeds with a good result last night, a draw away at Preston. Sheffield Wednesday looking strong. QPR surprise package. Charlton surprise package. Nottingham Forest starting to live up to expectation there or thereabouts.
Well, it's about time at Forest, isn't it? Flipping out, the fans there have been waiting to get back into the Premier League for what seems like an eternity. I think that now, probably more so than I can remember in recent years, there are a collection of teams at the bottom. It's almost like another mini league where the bottom teams in the Premier League and the top teams in the Championship, actually there isn't that massive gulf in class there anymore.
I'd agree with that, and I don't know whether that's the case of the which way round it is, whether it's the Championship's got better or whether the bottom end of the Premier League's got worse.
I think the Championship's got better.
Mm.
I think.
There's a lot of money in the Championship, has to be said. I mean, look, even teams outside of the top 8, you've got obviously Bristol City, Fulham, the likes of Birmingham, Brentford. I mean, Brentford in particular have got aspirations to be there or thereabouts, and they're starting to show a bit of that. I mean, Derby in 15th. The fact that you've got, and we spoke about it, a clash tonight, Middlesbrough and Huddersfield, 21st and 22nd. Two teams that would have been hoping, certainly for playoffs, you would have thought, and they're down fighting relegation. Stoke, of course, still in the relegation zone after their result last night. It's just a fascinating league. Who would have thought that 13 games in, Stoke, arguably the biggest budget in the division, would be second bottom?
Yeah, exactly. Stoke just rock bottom of yet another league table. Yet another league table.
Indeed. We're going to be going through the back pages after this.
I believe in traditional marriage. I've had 3 of them. Giving your team the coverage they deserve. Love Sport Radio.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
It's cancer, they said. My first thought, let's just say it wasn't money, but time off work for treatment and trips to the hospital, paying the rent, and the cost of living doesn't go away just because you're living with cancer, and Macmillan can help with that too. My advice? Take their advice. Soon as. I did.
Macmillan. Right there with you. Search Macmillan Money Worries.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. We're going to be joined now by Mr. Kieran Wellington to go through some of the back pages. Good morning, Kieran.
Good morning. I was going to use a Daily Mail, but that's become rendered useless.
I've ruined it, haven't I?
You have, mate, yeah. So just to give you an idea of what Patrick's like in the morning, just spills everything everywhere. He takes up about 3/4 of the desk. Me and Rich are crammed into a corner in the studio.
It's incredible. Like, there's certain children you know that, I don't know, they can have a clean bedroom and you know within 10 minutes of them going in there, if you were to go in, it would look like a bomb site. I've got a feeling that was you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
No, absolutely
How do you do it? Because it's almost... You can't mess it up that quickly.
Yeah.
Like, it actually takes effort. to do. You come in here in the morning, and it's spotless, in fairness. Every morning we come in, we are the first people in here, so it's nice. It's spotless, it's clean. If I were to take a picture now, I mean, it makes me feel uncomfortable.
But what I think, mate, is that I make up for it with my winning personality. So people are willing to overlook the fact that actually, as it happens, and just a random example here, I may well have emptied an entire cup of water on the desk next to all the computer systems all over the paper. There may well be the shattered remains of the bacon and sausage bap that I had, an empty cup of coffee, which it's on the floor now.
On the floor now.
That may be a thing, but you get me with it.
Right, so it's like give and take.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do the positives outweigh the negatives?
Do you want me to answer that honestly?
I mean, honesty is what we ask for on this show. Integrity
That's what we have to bring
word.
to the table.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just put it next to the wet paper.
No,
in a word?
No, it's disgusting.
Yeah, horrific.
Yes. But look, at least we've done a little bit of an intervention online. Online, on air, online as well. You can get in touch. Anyway, Kieran, you are here for a reason. I'm sure it's not Patrick's lack of hygiene.
No, it's not. And I wasn't actually going to talk about this, but I want to bring it back to the fines because we've gone through a few.
Yeah.
And there's actually one in the Sun today. A Russian ice hockey team have been fined after their coach. What do you reckon he said?
It's Russia. It's not racism, is it?
No, he would set fire.
Because I can't just
he would
rattle
set fire to a ref's car.
What? Okay, well, wait a sec. Just you kind of said it as if we would guess the answer.
Yeah.
The classic one that everyone says.
It just shows how
with that petrol again. Look at that.
Hilarious.
All right, Serge.
Bit of arson. Bit of arson, you know.
Oh, what's it? You want the matches? All right, one sec.
Yeah.
Alexander.
Babel, get Serge the matches.
Alexander Guliatsev of Amur Khabarovsk later said he meant the threat to Viktor Gashilov as a joke, adding, "I just said car. It's not as if I said apartment."
I mean, which would have been much worse.
Yeah, but actually the joke's on him because as it turns out the ref lives in his car.
Right.
So it's basically the same thing.
Right.
Because that's it. The money in Russian ice hockey refereeing has just gone to the dogs, mate.
No, it's classic Gashilov.
Yeah. What's he like? What do they call him for short?
Go on. Carry on, Kieran.
Just gonna let that
Let it just slide right past that one. Okay.
Yeah, just a comment on Odell Beckham Jr. Obviously being fined 10 grand or just under for wearing short trousers. He said it's crazy. I don't do physics, but if I get hit, this is not going to protect me. So I'm not sure what pants protect you from, especially.
No, I don't know.
Well, the cold.
Yeah.
There's
That's
that.
true.
There's that.
Which team does he play for again?
He plays for. It was during the game with Seattle, Cleveland. He plays for.
Okay. I mean, it does seem ridiculous. I mean, these fines we spoke about a few earlier. For me, it's just the level of fines. I always find it strange as to how you can give such a small fine to a country and then such big fines to individuals for kind of things that don't matter.
Yeah, but it's the corporate world, isn't it? So, like, when you name one before about a player changing his shirt and getting fined a huge amount of money, it's because sponsors are basically going to be going, you need to just find them this amount of money so that when the pictures come in and the TV rights come in and all that kind of stuff, then they don't look out of place. But then actually, if you're just a frothing racist and they're like, "Oh, have you got a tenner?"
Yeah, does make a lot of sense.
It does indeed. Obviously, want to talk a bit about cricket because cricket is never too far from my agenda, Rich. And it is something I think you can get into this. I think we can have a chat about this.
Let's do it.
Joe Root turned to a childhood pal to help him start scoring mountains of runs again. So he was obviously out of form during the Ashes series. And he said he's been working with Josh Varley, who's coach of Sheffield Collegiate CC, and a man he's known since he was 12. Now, when you're at an elite level like Joe Root is, he was regarded as the 4th best batsman in the world. Probably still is. Even though in his Ashes series he only scored 325 runs at an average of 32.5. It's dwindled since he became captain. His average was well above 50, is now 47.9. So he's obviously felt like he needs to go back to his childhood a little bit, needs to go back to making the runs that he did when he burst onto the scene. He said, "I've been trying to get better rhythm back into my batting without affecting my balance. Feeling rhythmical is a big part of how I bat well. 4 years ago was the last time I had a break as long as this. So you have to take pockets of time to improve yourself. I've had a few sessions with Josh. He's actually younger than me, but we played and threw balls to each other at Collegiates Ground, Abbeydale Park, from the age of 12. So is it worth, going back to your roots?
I can see that. I think there is a certain thing with sportsmen that when they get sort of further into their career, they lose a little bit of that enjoyment, that childlike enjoyment that you have. So I still think back. So here you go. I'm going to relive a little memory. I remember being 9 years old when I first started playing in goal, played against Belgrave. I think Belgrave Raiders, if I remember rightly. 1-0 down we were. Penalty. I saved the penalty. We end up winning the game 2-1. That, for me, was one of the reasons I absolutely loved football more than anything then. And that was one of the reasons then I wanted to be a goalkeeper, like that feeling. And I still remember it even now. So then I think that with a lot of players, what ends up happening is then all of a sudden it turns from being something you love and you play for fun to being a job, because of course you suddenly start getting paid and the dynamic shifts. It's not just a case of you doing it because you want to go out and just play for the love of playing. Suddenly it is a job and there is an expectation on your shoulders. So there is something, I know if I see certain friends, and I do from time to time, that played in that team with me, we'll relive some of those days and you do get that enjoyment back. Even now thinking about it, it brings a smile.
But isn't this just a massive slight on Graham Thorpe and Marta Abracash, who are, they've been England's batting coaches in this period of Joe Root's decline in form. They are, ex-players at England level, and he's felt the need to go back to a lad he's known since he was 12 that probably has very little coaching experience.
It's not necessarily about how good. That's the point. It's more just it's like, okay, there's something.
But what's the point in having batting coaches?
No, here's a little psych. No, because I think that look, it's actually nothing to do with that. What it is? Have you heard of anchors? Don't say the obvious. Like, have you heard of anchors in psychology?
Yeah.
Okay, so an anchor would be, for instance, here you go. If you were to hear a song from years ago and it take you back to a period of time or take you back to that moment, that will be a mental anchor, because you might hear a song and instantly it makes you feel happy, or it makes you feel... By the way, a lot of food companies do it. McDonald's, a lot of people will salivate when they see a picture of a Big Mac, and that will be because they have got a mental anchor.
McDonald's gets in your head early, doesn't it?
Of course it does. They're brilliant in terms of that.
But this is why, right? This is why I'm dead against things like, I know you can listen to us on Alexa, but don't, because it's spying on you, right? This is why I'm against all this kind of stuff, because I think, now when you see kids that are on all the, 5-year-olds have got iPads and they're playing on them the whole time, they're getting stuff pumped into their brains at such an early age.
It's very clever marketing. And by the way, it happens, so this is the point here. It's nothing to do with the current batting coaches. Yeah. There will be a mental anchor that will be a positive one from when you're a kid. We all have them, like the positive memories that we have as children. If there's something, we think about it, we can make ourselves feel that way because of the anchors that we have in our head. And I just think that with this, it's nothing to do with the current batting coaches. It might have just been a case of, right, step away for a minute, the pressurised environment of being England captain, and go back and play with your mates that you played with when you were a kid and actually feel good about it again.
There's definitely a couple of anchors in this studio, isn't there?
Oh, God.
I mean, how long did that take? You're having a serious psychological conversation.
I feel like I make some good points, and I mean, I've got a certain anchor in my head at the moment in regards to the co-host here, and it's.
How do you deal with it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult. I'm trying to break through the anchor at the moment, but he is such an anchor. No, I'm not. No, anchoring's really interesting. So in neurolinguistic programming, no, it is. It's like, look, players use this.
Doesn't said that out loud.
Players use this. Cheers, Patrick. I'm glad you really appreciate the craft. No, it is, right. So this is another one that players will do before a game, is they'll take themselves to a place in time where they, like a good example, imagery and visualization. You take yourself to a place in time where you had a brilliant game. Because, again, you're reliving those positive emotions, and going into a game, you can change your state going into a game. And this is all this is. For me, all this is he's trying to change his state slightly, go back to the simplicity when he was younger.
So when I come into work and I think, I've got to work with Patrick again. What I need to do is visualise working with you and just be a lot more positive about my experiences here.
And that then releases chemicals in the mind, which then makes you feel better. Your physiology's better. And then you can break through the comments that Patrick makes on a day-to-day basis. That incessant talking for 3.5 hours. Yeah. And it just slides right by.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just going to move past this rubbish load next to Patrick.
Okay. Look at it. It's an absolute...
Talking of things sliding right past you, we're going to do an in-depth analysis of your career shortly, Rich. So,
3 minutes to 9.
This is Love Sport.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it...
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Tenna men.
Cage.
Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're
secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
There are fewer than 10 days to get ready for Brexit. Find out what you need to do to prepare now at gov.uk/Brexit.
Hello, I'm Tim from Bolsover. I'm a retired teacher. I was looking for a better electricity deal from my parents when I got an email from a spokesman said it was a fixed deal for 2 years, which was better for my parents, less for them to worry about. And when I had to look at the sums, I had to recheck because I couldn't quite believe it. They were going to save over £900 each year they were on that deal. Needless to say, we signed up pretty quickly.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
Yes, I'm pretty sure I'm going to leave it. Oh, God.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you all the way until 10 a.m.
I'm not dumping that, Pat.
It's
not being dumped.
Lots to talk about in the last hour. We're going to be talking more about the Champions League, of course. We have got Mickey Hazard, former Spurs midfielder, who'll be on the line. We're also going to be talking to Daniel Branowski, Head of Marketing, Media and Communications at Stevenage, talking about Challenge Stevenage, a new Burger King initiative. As always, you can get in touch, 0208 7020 558. You can call us on that number. You can WhatsApp us on that number as well, or at Love Sport Radio, Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. We're also on YouTube these days. Again, I see we've got several messages on YouTube. Thank you for them. Neil from Down Under has been in touch again. Great to hear from you, Neil. We'll be reading out your comments very shortly. Do stay with us. Love Sport, 9 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker.
This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 9, Downing Street's confirmed it'll push for an election if there's further delay to the UK leaving the EU. Boris Johnson's put his Brexit legislation on hold after MPs voted against fast-tracking it through Parliament. The European Council presidents advised leaders to accept an extension until January to avoid a no-deal scenario. But the Prime Minister's still insisting that's not what he wants.
Our policy remains that we should not delay, and one way or another, we will leave the EU with this deal to which this House has just given its assent.
A study's found anorexia among children and young people has risen significantly. The Institute of Psychiatry says data suggests it's doubled in 8 to 12-year-olds compared to previous estimates. More than 90% of sufferers are female, with the condition peaking in girls aged 15. Hope Virgo had anorexia when she was 12 and says it's complex.
Eating disorders come in all shapes and sizes. People with anorexia can look physically healthy but still be struggling mentally. People with bulimia, you might not even be able to tell they've got an eating disorder. And with all eating disorders, it's so easy to hide that. So I think quite often people don't understand actually the extent that someone might be struggling.
2 men have been charged with the murder of a father who was stabbed in Essex. 31-year-old Murdoch Brown was targeted in Colchester in May. Hong Kong's government has formally withdrawn a controversial extradition bill, which sparked a huge protest movement. It would have potentially led to criminals being extradited to the Chinese mainland. In sport, Tottenham striker Harry Kane says they enjoyed a perfect night in the Champions League last night. Spurs thrashed Red Star Belgrade 5-0. Manchester City were 5-1 winners over Atalanta. And Jack and Mia are considered to be the naughtiest children's names. Research has found kids named Isla and Arthur to be the best behaved. That's the latest. I'm Karen Bangle.
Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive. And make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Morning, Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. Let's touch on the headlines this morning. 5-star performances from Spurs and City. Both teams with 5 goals in the Champions League. Big wins for both. Back pages go hard on Spy Storm as Eddie Jones accuses someone of filming their training sessions. And Sol Campbell has been appointed at Southend, but then watches his team lose 7-1 at home to Doncaster. And New Zealand prepared for kicking shootout if England match finishes level after extra time. Also, the Nike Chic executive is to leave role just weeks after the Nike Oregon project closes down, but will become Nike's executive chairman. Lots more to discuss as well. I am here with Mr. Patrick Christys. We're here for another hour or so. Then, of course, after us, it is the brilliant Martin Bell. Do stay tuned for that. We're going to be speaking to Mickey Hazard shortly, former Spurs midfielder. Of course, it was a big night for Spurs. They've had some tough times lately, but they do look like they are back on track to an extent. I know that one game, you can't necessarily say that. Red Star Belgrade weren't great, but they do look like there's certainly a much more positive feeling. Just to make a note, we are on YouTube. I see we're getting plenty of messages in. Do appreciate that. Neil from Down Under has wished us good morning. Got a couple of questions. We'll touch on that shortly. And as always, you can get in touch on the socials at Love Sport Radio. Want to talk Spurs, want to talk Man City, but Spurs in particular, they had a tough time lately. Was this a game that they had to win? Is that fair to say? Had they lost this game, would we have been hearing a lot of calls for Pochettino?
Yeah, it does make me laugh, actually, because we've had so long now. Oh, maybe Poch's time is up. Maybe we've run its course. Thanks for the memories, Poch. Thanks for the memories, but it's time. And then they go and score 3 goals in the first half of a Champions League game for the first time in their history, run out 5-0 winners, and all of a sudden it's build a statue, make sure he stays, lifetime contract. We're going to win the league.
Well, look, we'll see if Mickey agrees. We've got Mickey Hazard, former Spurs midfielder, on the line. Morning, Mickey.
Morning, guys.
Morning. They needed that last night, didn't they? They've had a tough couple of weeks. We were just talking about Red Star Belgrade didn't look great, but from Spurs' point of view, a lot of positive performances out there. Great for Harry Kane to grab a couple of goals, and Ndombele looked very good as well. What did you make of the performance?
Yeah, no, I think that certainly needed it on the back of what was been a very poor run and worse, some poor performances. The most important thing about last night was that we performed very well, irrelevant of whether the opposition were great or poor. We still have to go out there and do it. As we've seen, we're more than capable of losing to not so good sides as well. So it was a great performance. Great to see Harry back on the score sheet. 2 goals, Son, 2 goals. So looking great, and the shape was great. That's what pleased me when I saw the team set out 4-2, 3-1. It filled me with hope. I thought, yes, this is where we performed our best, and certainly it was a great performance, great result, but more importantly, great for confidence.
Yeah, well, look, absolutely, certainly was much needed, and it was the confidence of the fans as well as the players and the manager, because I think they were starting to just get a little bit concerned. Do you feel like maybe this could be the launch pad for Spurs this season now?
Well, I've always said that teams, players go through losses of form, losses of confidence, and the mark of great players and great teams is how you deal with the loss of confidence and the loss of form, and what are you going to do to turn it round? And certainly last night you saw players on the pitch determined to give everything first and foremost. That should be a given. And then once you've given everything, you can work on your passing, your touch, your dribbling, your shooting, your crossing, and all of those things tend to fall into line once you've given your all. And last night we saw signs that some of the top players in the team have sort of committed to the cause and also rediscovering themselves in terms of their confidence. So great to see, and it's something that we can build on. And thankfully for me, people will say, wish we didn't have Liverpool on Sunday. Hey, for me, it's a great game to go in following a 5-0 victory. We know we've got the capabilities of beating them. We know that they're a great side as well, and it's going to be incredibly tough. But it's a game where you don't have to motivate yourself. You're up for it just when you walk through the gates, So it's a fantastic game for us to go into, and it's a game that I honestly believe we can win.
Okay, just want to talk about a couple of individuals from last night in particular. I mean, one, obviously the signing in the summer, big signing in the summer, Ndombele. Really impressed with him last night. He looks like he's already a top player, but obviously with huge potential as well. What did you make of him?
Well, I think Ndombele showed the signs in the Bayern Munich game in the first half. He had 2 or 3 absolutely sensational passes that opened them up, opened by Munich up in the first half, and really we should have took the lead and maybe got a second and third. We didn't, the rest is history. But we looked a very good player in that first half, got tired in the second half, got taken off. Last night showed his true class. I mean, you don't pay 60 million for a poor footballer. And obviously it's taken him time to adjust to the pace of the English Premier League, maybe not what he was used to. And now he's starting to show the qualities that we signed him for. You know, his eye for a telling pass, he scores goals, he looks a very good player. And as his fitness levels and sharpness levels get better and better, and he adjusts more and more to the pace of the English game, I expect to see him playing even better. But looks a good signing long term.
And Harry Kane, a couple of good goals, certainly great leap for the first one. Good finish on the second one. In fact, it was Dombele's vision, wasn't it, to play him in, and a very, very calm finish. Good to see him with the brace.
Yes, no, I mean, Harry's he's sort of our leader, he's our inspiration, and when you watch Harry, for me, always looks like he's a man amongst men, you know, and nothing phases him, and he never seems to get down on himself, never seems to lose confidence, never seems to lose focus, and never seems to be not committed. But when he's having a lean spell in front of goal, you sort of worry a bit because he is your leader. So when Harry's on form and firing on all cylinders and scoring goals, you know that the team's going to function better, and he's a great guy to have around in your team, and his goals are sort of priceless.
You touched on the fact it's Liverpool at the weekend, so it doesn't come much tougher, although, of course, Liverpool lost their 100% record against United at the weekend. You see this as being a bit of an opportunity. Is it one, do you word it a free hit, or is that doing Tottenham a disjustice?
I think it's sort of doing. I mean, I get what you're saying, and often I think when you go to teams at the top, it's always a free go because you're not expected to win. But I think that in the recent past, we have shown that we're more than capable of going to big grounds and winning. And in fact, we've had a couple. In last season, for instance, Sissoko was clean through at 1-1 with minutes to go, and with the keeper to beat and put it over the bar, and then they broke and got that really lucky last minute goal. So we could have won there last season. We're more than capable on our day of going to any club in Europe and beating them. So we go there with no fear, but it's going to be mighty, mighty tough. But what we saw against Manchester United was that they have a vulnerability about them too. And if you can sort of stop their fullbacks playing so far forward and creating massive overloads up top, you have a chance, and that's what Manchester United did. They kept their fullbacks playing deeper, which stopped the overloads up there, and then they got the lead and really were unlucky not to hang on to it. But they're a great side, and they're at home. So you go there knowing what's coming. They're going to absolutely throw everything at you for 20, 25 minutes, and it's important that you hang in there and fight during that period. Keep the crowd quiet, not give them something to cheer about. Don't wind them up. And then as the game goes, you build yourself into it, work yourself into it, and start asserting your game. And we've got the game that can damage them. You know, you saw last night the quality of our forwards is quite exceptional at times, and if they have one of those days, they're very, very difficult to stop. But so are theirs too. So it's going to be a day where defenses really have to be on their mettle.
Yeah, great stuff, Mickey. Appreciate you joining us.
Pleasure, guys.
That's Mickey Hazard, their former Spurs midfielder, giving us his thoughts on the game last night. Of course, City did play as well last night. I realised I made up a word just then. Kind of got mixed up between a few words, and I used the word disjustice, which I kind of feel like we know what it means, but it isn't a word.
It sounds like something that a really bad superhero would say just after he's put like a baddie in a headlock.
Yeah.
Disjustice!
Yeah, but it's not a word. I meant either misjustice or injustice, of course.
It's injustice.
Is it not misjustice? I feel like I'm making up words all over the show.
I think you might be. It reminds me of George Bush.
Yeah.
Do not misunderestimate me. I dream of a world where humans and fish can coexist peacefully. You're right, George.
Anyway, on a tandem, let's talk about...
People crunching the numbers.
Let's crunch some numbers. Let's talk about Raheem Sterling, because he was fantastic last night.
Right, so
go on.
It was the third fastest hat-trick in Champions League history. So His hat-trick came in just 11 minutes and 12 seconds. So the only people to beat him, any ideas?
Oh, Cristiano Ronaldo.
No, Ronaldo's level with him.
Okay, go on. Level?
Yeah, well, basically just a few seconds slower than Raheem.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, go
on. Bafferton Gomez.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Newell.
No.
Mike Newell
has got the
9
record.
minutes, Blackburn against Rosenborg in 1995.
What a player he was.
Yeah.
Mike Newell. No, I haven't heard that name in years.
No.
Raheem Sterling, though. I have heard that name a lot, and you'll hear it a lot more because another hat-trick. He gives his match balls to his mum every time he gets a hat-trick.
Well, he sends them round to our house in Jamaica, apparently.
Yeah, which I think is awesome. And you mentioned earlier it's now full.
Yeah.
So he did say he had to buy 6 more cases or something in order to, because he's just preparing. He knows he's got a lot more of these to come. But he was excellent last night. For me, the finishes, it's how clinical he is now. But also, I think, look, we were saying about, you think when he was getting criticism, it's crazy to think it was only, not even 18 months ago at the World Cup, like 14, 15 months ago, that he was getting the criticism that he was, and he looked like he panicked in front of goal. It was the classic one that people used to say about Andrew Cole from time to time, that would be...
Sorry, why do you always do that?
Do what?
Say Andy Cole, then correct yourself to Andrew. Is it Andrew Cole?
I'm pretty sure it's Andrew now, yeah.
Is it?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Really? Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is. But
Andrew Cole.
Andrew Cole, Google it. So anyway, it used to be the classic thing with him, which everyone would always say, or the criticism would always be that if he had too much time, he struggled. He was one of these strikers that it needed to be instinctive, and when it was, he was very good. And you felt like Raheem Sterling was that. And at the World Cup, there was a few times when you felt he had a bit of time. And, oh, come on, Raheem. And then all of a sudden now, every time he's got the ball, certainly that one that came to him on the angle, and I just feel that he is going to score because he's got the beating of the defender. He's got that turn of pace, the level of skill he has now, the close control. He's got a way in which he can shift it and get that shot away. And it's that one. You feel like it wasn't by chance what happened yesterday. When he is coming in on the angle, you know he's done that in training thousands of times, where he moves it inside, back on himself across the goalkeeper, leaving the goalkeeper no chance, and he's just nailed certain techniques. He's got so many different ways of scoring goals now, and his movement just improves. Every game I see him, he's so clever. It's not, again, by luck that the ball's dropping to him in the box. He's picking positions that he knows he's going to get the ball more often than not.
Has Pep made him a better player?
Oh, 100%.
And this is more than Raheem Sterling's just pure natural improvement. You think Pep Guardiola has
100%. And this is the argument then. You look at Marcus Rashford, it's the example we'd use at Man United. Has he developed enough since he made his debut? Since he scored a hat-trick on his Europa League debut? Has he developed enough in that period of time? And you look at Raheem Sterling, you look at, I don't know, players at other clubs, Trent Alexander-Arnold, like the players that are seemingly going to new levels, and then you look at other players that are seemingly in environments whereby they're not improving as much. And I think Pep Guardiola, the environment he's got in place there, I suppose the mentality of that football club, for me, is fantastic. Yes, there are a few points off it in the Premier League. I don't think that gap is going to last for long. I think it will soon be Liverpool, Man City level pegging again. I think that City will find a way to get themselves back in the hunt. No, for me at the moment, I think Sterling he's one of many at that club that you can just tell they've got the bit between the teeth, and you don't see, while Pep Guardiola's there, he's going to continue to improve.
Yeah. That's an important point. I just want to move away quickly from the football.
Well, before we do, can we hear from Cristiano Ronaldo?
Oh, I'll allow it.
Let's do that.
The age is, for me, it's a number. Not necessarily means that you have 34, 35, 36 that you are in the end of your career. I can show that with my exhibitions, the way I play, the way I still feel good, sharp, thinking the game, more mature. I think this makes the difference. It's already past 700. I'm not thinking more about than that number.
So the reason we played that, of course, he has got his 700th goal, 701 now, actually, but more so in regards to Sterling. Because, look, you look at the world's greatest, and there are certain similarities between all the world's greatest, and the biggest one is mentality. You know, lots of different body shapes, body types, etc., etc., but the biggest one will always be mentality. Cristiano Ronaldo still going strong at the age that he is and has no plans on retiring by the looks of things, and is keeping himself fit, still seemingly is enjoying it as much as ever. And I'll then look at Raheem Sterling and I'll see so many similarities. He looks like he's enjoying life at the moment. He's approaching every game with that enthusiasm that you had when you were a kid.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just fundamentally what a good thing this is for England now. You've got someone. He's better than Neymar. Like, he's just better than Neymar, and he plays for England. I mean, fantastic.
Yeah, what do you guys think? Let us know your thoughts on Mr. Raheem Sterling. The time is 18 minutes past 9.
This is Love Sport.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Kenna men. Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're
secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Hi, I'm Marilyn from Oxfordshire. My current insurance company quoted £245.08 to reinsure, and a spokesman said obtain me a price of £173.49 for the same cover. This was a fantastic saving for me. And next time my car insurance comes up for renewal, I will be going through a spokesman said. No doubt about that.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
An actor, a journalist, and a comedian walk into a bar, and they're all whining about Donald Trump.
This is Love Sport.
Love for Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you for another 40 minutes or so. Martin Bell is coming up next. Now, we've gone through the back pages in detail, dissected them, completed it, mate.
Yeah.
Now we're going to talk on front pages.
Yes, we are. So, trust MPs to only go and ruin it.
Oh, no.
So, for the first time, we had a withdrawal agreement that got through Parliament yesterday. The nation breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, yes, finally. Some movement on Brexit. Boris Johnson's Brexit deal essentially got passed by a majority of 30 votes, which, considering he doesn't have an individual majority, is quite an impressive feat, actually. And that was the moment where he thought, right, finally now we can crack on. And then MPs said, actually, I know you've only given us 3 days to debate this, so no, we don't agree with that. So MPs, since the day that Brexit was announced, have been paid individually £250,000. And what they are now saying is that they do not have the time or the ability to digest a withdrawal agreement that is around 110 pages long in 3 days. Now, I personally think that is an affront.
Well, so they're talking about how long's the delay?
Well, this is the thing. So, Boris Johnson now, it's up to the European Union whether or not we get a delay, and that could be until January 31st. Alternatively, they might just no deal it. Right. The EU might just go. They won't really, but they might just go. Oh well, that's it. We're not having a delay. And then these Remain MPs who are going on about, we just need to make sure that we do the right thing here, and we take ages. Actually, could be responsible for a no deal Brexit. Well done, guys.
Right.
Top stuff.
Okay, so next step.
I think MPs will probably have to go into hiding at some point, because I can't believe how any of that gabble of absolute loons can show their face in public yet again. They talk about, the Westminster bubble and the idea that MPs are some way detached from reality and the wider public. Look at what happened last night. Boris Johnson gets his deal passed by a majority of 30 votes, and then about, 15 minutes later, they've ruled against us actually doing Brexit on October 31st. And you think, if you just had any grip on reality and what the mood of the public now, then you'd have cracked on with it. But you don't. And you know what I think one of the biggest issues is now, and I think this is going underreported, which is the second that Brexit's done, we get a general election. And a lot of this lot are going to be out of a job. And I think they're trying to drag it on and on and on so that they can keep on with their £80,000 a year salary, which, in case you're wondering, Rich, yes, they do get to vote on their own pay rise again next year.
Right. That is an interesting point where conflict of interest, right? Is...
Exactly.
Okay, well, so it was one step forward, 2 steps back.
Essentially, look, we shouldn't be overshadowed or overstated, actually, what Boris did. And I'll like him or loathe him, and lots of people loathe him. Nobody thought it would be possible for Boris Johnson to go and get a deal. No one did. Everyone was saying it's ridiculous. Everyone was saying that actually he just wants no deal. Well, you know what? He went and got a deal. It was a better deal than the one that was previously floated. And it got passed, which is more than Theresa May ever managed to do in three and a half years.
Indeed. What else is going on in the front pages?
Yeah, quite a lot. So, I mean, Brexit, as you can imagine, is dominating the agenda, to be perfectly honest with you. It literally is just a case of what is going to happen now. And someone's actually put together quite a nice, handy guide to exactly how much money Donald Tusk, President of the European Union, spent on things, right? Because they don't have to publish their expenses.
Right.
At the European Union. So it's emerged that Jean-Claude Juncker actually took a private flight from Berlin to Ankara.
Okay.
And the cost of around €100,000 to the taxpayer. And Donald Tusk spent £100,000 restocking the wine cellar at his Brussels HQ.
Right.
£50,000 on a party for EU council staff. £40,000 for a family day out at a theme park in Belgium. How do you spend £40,000 at a theme park?
I don't know. That's...
How?
I don't know if it's actually possible.
No, it shouldn't be. £25,000 renting Dutch furniture.
Right, okay.
No, I mean, as you do, obviously. Yeah. Oh, this is nuts. He spent 85 grand on a relaxation armchair.
Wow.
European Union, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow, he must be so chilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, fantastic. Much else going on of note in the front pages? It does seem like it's largely Brexit related.
Still a fallout ongoing, I should say, from Meghan and Harry.
Right.
So Meghan and Harry did a TV interview with ITV, sort of kind of mini documentary series, I suppose you could call it, just about where they're at and how they were feeling about stuff. Negative is the answer to that. Yeah, awful, woeful. Anyway, apparently it caused so much concern among the royal family that William rung Harry to see if he was all right. And there is some concern, apparently, that Harry is exhibiting some of the same signs that maybe he was doing before, when, very unfortunately, his mental health, which he has suffered with over the years, took a bit of a dip. Clearly, if that is the case, I'm massively wish him all the best. It's not a nice situation to be in. I must say, though, I thought there were a couple of really bad elements to this.
Go on.
They'd been on a tour of Africa, a successful tour of Africa, where the whole purpose of this tour supposedly was to try to highlight and rectify some of the issues on that continent with poverty, race relations, womanhood, etc. And instead of us really having a conversation about that, because they decided that they were going to do this ITV interview, all we're talking about is the state of their relationship, the press coverage, etc., etc. We're not talking about the actual issues that they went over there to highlight.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes this look, again, quite self-defeating, which is, are you really there to just do good, or are you just there for kind of, ironically, a bit of a photo opportunity?
Yeah. Well, look, what do you guys think? As always, 0208 70 20 558. Just to touch on a couple of stories from the back pages. Of course, we spoke a lot about Spurs and City. Good performances from them yesterday. 5 goals for both. Spoke a lot about Eddie Jones as well, of course, making a big deal, the papers, over the Eddie Jones comments and Spygate. And it's not really. I mean, Eddie Jones, being Eddie Jones, has just made a comment that he thinks that someone's filming their training. I want to touch as well on Sol Campbell, because he has been appointed at Southend.
Yeah.
So he was appointed yesterday, which firstly, for Sol Campbell, good news. He's moved up from League 2 to League 1. Of course, he left his post at Macclesfield, but did a very good job there, and he was the one that obviously decided to leave. He has now got an opportunity, the league higher, a tough opportunity, because they are struggling this season, and they really made that point to him last night. The first game in charge, he wasn't actually in charge, but he went to watch the game, and they lost 7-1 at home.
Oh,
pretty poor.
Yeah. Do you think he's taken a wise job here?
it's hard to know what opportunities were presented to him, because you wondered after Macclesfield, was that enough to get your opportunity in the Championship? Now, the argument will be that Steven Gerrard or Frank Lampard have gone in to roles that are much higher as their first jobs. And Frank Lampard, within a year, it's like the fast track to one of the best teams in the world. It's, it doesn't happen, but it has for Frank Lampard. And management's a completely different role than any other role in life. Well, most other roles in life. Normally, you have to build up your CV, work really hard, and you eventually make your way to the top. With management, people still refer to a player and how good the player was, and the best players will get the best management gigs initially. For some, it works out. For some, it doesn't. For a lot, it doesn't, actually, when the realisation comes that being a good player and a good manager are two completely different jobs.
So, Sol Campbell has wheeled out the kind of, racism element of it. And that may well be the case. There's clearly not enough people of black or ethnic minority,
managing teams. I mean, well, interestingly, the game yesterday was against Doncaster, who, of course, have Darren Moore as their manager. But they're two of a handful at the moment. You're right, nowhere near enough.
But my point is this, is when you look at Frank Lampard, with all due respect to Sol Campbell, I think you feel as though you're looking at a more competent individual.
Yeah,
I don't think it's got anything.
It's got nothing to do with
race.
No, well, this is it. I mean, look, we played earlier the LBC clip. Now, do you know what? It's stuff like that that.
Let's wheel that one back out.
Should we
wheel it back
now?
out?
I mean, we can do. We can wheel it out in a minute. But okay, stuff like this is a good example where. Like, ultimately, you're building a CV. That's not just your management CV. You build a brand. And, of course, if you do some silly things in your past, which Frank Lampard hasn't really.
Well, not that they've made it into the papers anyway.
No, but certain things can stick with you. In fact, let's hear Sol Campbell on LBC.
Southend manager, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm a big fan on one of my ideas. I'm still working through. I've still got people looking and crunching the numbers with some of my ideas. Yes, you'll have mavericks. That's in every industry. You'll have people who want to go off on a tandem. All these kind of things. I've got a lot of ideas. I've got people working on these ideas to crunch the numbers.
Crunching the numbers.
Right, so that was when he ran for mayor.
Yeah.
He was then asked, further in that interview, he was asked, so what do you make of the housing crisis? And he said, build 50,000 homes.
Just build 50,000 homes.
No, do you know what the point? The point is that, of course, it's all part of building a CV. If you're going to be a top manager, then people...
Sorry, Rich, you're going off on a tandem, mate.
I am going off a tandem, my bad. But right, this is it. You build a CV. So you're right. Like, this is where, for me, it's got nothing to do with race as to why Frank Lampard was offered that opportunity. He's got, well, look, you go through the checklist. He's an intelligent guy. He knows football inside and out. He's got links at the very highest level. He's done all of his badges as well. So he has focused on this for a long time. His dad, of course, had a very good role, which, by the way, plays a role. Look, Lee Johnson at Bristol City, his dad, Gary Johnson, who was manager of Latvia, of course, Bristol City himself, championship level, etc. So, of course, if you've got that kind of background, there are certain things that an owner will look at when employing a manager. So, but no, credit to Sol, though, because he did go in at Macclesfield and proved himself.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's got the step up. But you do feel if Sol Campbell's going to get there, if he has another good role with Southend, let's say he keeps them up, then I think you see a championship club calling next year, if not Premier League. More than likely Championship, but you never know. He needs one more good role, and then that opportunity will come to him.
Yeah, I agree completely. And look, like I said before, I don't think that there's anything other than the fact that maybe Sol Campbell does need to just prove himself a little bit more in management, maybe more so than the likes of Frank Lampard or Steven Gerrard, just because there is that sense that potentially he is not always the most competent in that regard. Having said that, he worked wonders at Macclesfield. If this goes well for him at Southend, I really, really do hope that a load of doors start opening for him.
Absolutely. We're going to be speaking to Daniel Branowski, Head of Marketing, Media and Communications at Stevenage, next.
Love Sport.
Join me, you and Thomas and the Posh Boys here on Love Sport Drive this Friday as we count down to the Rugby World Cup semi-finals. All the build-up to England versus New Zealand and a massive weekend of football, all on Love Sport.
Love Sport.
Hello, my name's Paula. I'm from the Shropshire area and I'm a business development manager. I use a spokesman said for my car insurance where I've saved over £500 and also on travel insurance as well. So in total, me and my family have saved about £600. I would definitely use it again and I would definitely recommend it.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
It's cancer, they said. My first thought, let's just say it wasn't money, but time off work for treatment and trips to the hospital, paying the mortgage, and The cost of living doesn't go away just because you're living with cancer, and Macmillan can help with that too. My advice? Take their advice. Soon as. I did.
Macmillan, right there with you. Call now or search Macmillan Money Worries.
Driving too close to the car in front gives you less time to react. You may not realise that you're tailgating. Leave a 2-second gap between you and the vehicle in front. When it's wet, leave a 4-second gap. By staying back, you give yourself time to react. Stay safe. Stay back. Highways England, connecting the country.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search One You.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Of course, Martin Bell is up after us, so do stay tuned for that one. We've got a very interesting guest on the line now. Delighted to say we've got Daniel Branowski, Head of Marketing, Media and Communications at Stevenage, to talk about #Challenge Stevenage, a new Burger King initiative. Morning, Daniel.
Morning. How are you guys?
Yeah, good, thanks. Hope you're well. Talk to us about this initiative.
Yeah, so earlier on during the summer, we announced that Burger King would be our new shirt sponsors, which was really exciting in the first place to have such a large global brand partner with quite a small club like ourselves. And then we revealed our shirt designs, which actually caused a bit of a stir in across the online world anyway, because they're quite brash, they're quite daring, and some people would say sort of crazy, but it caused a bit of a stir, and people started to actually use our kit design on FIFA, on the online game. And it started to become really popular anyway. But basically the Stevenage Challenge, the #Stevenage Challenge is a campaign that Burger King and ourselves came up with, where we're encouraging people to do these different footballing challenges, whether it be scoring a goal, scoring a chip, hitting the crossbar, hat-trick, goal from your own half, in the Stevenage kit, on video games and in real life, posting it to social media, and then Burger King will basically get in touch and you'll get different rewards. So depending on what the challenges is, there'll be different rewards. And it's gone out all the way across the world. There's 10 different countries doing it, which is the coolest thing about it. USA, China, Mexico, Brazil, France, Germany, Russia, Sweden, Spain. And so we've got people all over the world representing our club with our badge and Burger King. And it's been really, really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So so in kind of conjunction sponsorship with Burger King then, and you want some kind of some of these kind of trick shots, as it were, you could do you could have the best chip, couldn't you? That could be the one.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the great thing about it is at first we had Burger King as our shirt sponsors, and that was that. And there wasn't any much more news, and it was all sort of building up towards this. And it's like a 10-day sort of flash campaign where people all over the world. I mean, the amount of people that have been posting footage online of them doing various tricks or goals or skills in Stevenage shirts representing the club has been fantastic, and it's actually translated into a boost in shirt sales as well.
Whose idea was this? Was this your idea?
No, it wasn't my idea. It was
It
an
sounded
idea.
so cute. It's like you sounded like a headmaster at school then. When you just,
Who's responsible for this?
You're just looking at like a smashed window. And you're like, who did this?
No, I mean, it was. I think it was mainly done up by the marketing guys at Burger King, but between Burger King and the club, we sort of fine-tuned it and made it work.
Yeah, it's very clever. And so when will this run until? Is this just going to be ongoing?
No, so as I said, I mean, in the UK, it's going to be ending on Sunday, I believe. So there's different challenges for each different country, because in each country and market, there's different Burger King items. So there's, a handful for each country. So the UK one's running up until after our game against Morecambe, on Saturday, which we thought was important. You know, we got a home game on Saturday, a really big game. The season's not gone very well for us this season, but this is a massive game, and we wanted to make sure the campaign ran up until that. Whereas I think across the world and in the different countries, it does vary, but it's at some point later this week it runs out. But as I said, I think it's had a huge impact. I mean, one of the other great things about it is that we've had online influencers and streamers be a part of it as well. So, I mean, one of the most viewed Twitch streamer, FIFA Twitch streamer in the world, Castro, he's been posting videos in a Stevenage shirt, encouraging people to do it. And he's got, 1.8 million YouTube subscribers, for example. So, he's got really, really big reach. So it's definitely been a big win for us.
Oh, great stuff. I'm actually seeing some of it online now as we talk, actually. It looks really, really interesting. So where can people find out more about this?
Well, they can go to, one of the easiest ways to do it is to go onto Twitter and search #StevenageChallenge. And you'll see, as well as all our posts, which sort of advertise, the various things that are going on, you'll see all the different footage coming in across the world. Or you can go to www.stevenagechallenge.com, which is the main website, which has all the information depending where you're from. It'll show you what challenges you got to do for what rewards. It's got a cool online video as well, like a film which they produced for us, and that's the place to go.
Fantastic. I'm just watching some of the footage now. It's brilliant, actually. Really, really good idea. Good luck with it, Daniel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Cheers, guys.
Daniel Branowski there, Head of Marketing, Media and Communications at Stevenage. Really clever idea.
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it, actually? I quite like that. Maybe we should enter. I think we should enter.
Do you think we should?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm watching some of the footage now. The thing is, you have to be pretty good at the game. I don't know if you've necessarily got the hand-eye coordination in order to...
What game's this?
FIFA.
Oh, no, I was meant to do a real-life one.
Oh, right, okay. We can, yeah. I mean, again, we'll see if we can get the... I don't know what size the shirts go to.
Oh, really? We're doing that, are we?
Well, no, but you know what I mean? Like, because ultimately, if we're going to put it on camera, like it's... Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I didn't want to go down that road, Patrick.
We didn't have to, did you? And you did, so...
I mean, Kieran, you know what I meant, Kieran. I feel really bad now. It's just... No, it's one of them where, like, sometimes you just got to say it as it is.
Well, it was one of those guests I booked. I thought, Patrick's going to love this. Just talking about Burger King for 15 minutes.
Well, look, we don't mean it in a bad way, Patrick. Like, look, you know how much love we've got for you, but like when you want to join in with, it's like the kid that wants to join in. You kind of know they can't for whatever reason, and it's like, oh God, I'm going to break their heart. But sometimes tough love. Look, I'm more than happy to get you a shirt, but if your belly button's showing because the shirt's not quite big enough, it is what it is. I mean, as long as you're okay with that.
Well, look, I will be. Yeah, I've often been compared to the Michelin Man.
Yeah.
So I'll be fine with that.
Okay. But we should recreate something. Obviously, we've got a goalkeeper.
Yes, well.
We're going down that road now.
We've got a striker. Ish.
Yeah.
That's
right. Striker.
The producer, I should be behind the camera because that's my job.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you could, feed the ball to me.
Yeah.
I can scissor kick it on the volley. Rich can let it in deliberately.
Thing is, if he feeds it to you, you'll just probably eat it because that's what you do. Anyway, let's carry on, shall we? But no, clever idea.
No, really cool. And actually, it shows the power of marketing nowadays. And there's just people around the world. There's people from all different countries going on FIFA. They will never have heard of Stevenage. Like, we take for granted, our EFL is so strong, and we've heard of a lot of 92 clubs, but these people from different countries all around the world.
Just to describe that, so basically, there's certain challenges. So one is scoring from your own half on the game. The problem is I'm watching some of the footage now, and it's all going to work. Amazing if you can score from your own half. But what's obviously happened here is you've got a friend playing against another friend. One of them has got his goalkeeper and run out of the goal to allow the other friend to kick it in the goal from the halfway. That can't count. It seems like there's a little bit of foul play going on here. It's not legitimate as far as I'm concerned.
Well, there's loopholes in any walk of life.
Well, this is it. This is it not cheating?
Well,
is this not up there with Salazar?
Talking of, he's just done it. He's only gone and done it. Oh, well done, mate. Nike CEO Mark Parker has bowed to pressure following the closure of the Nike Oregon project and is stepping down after 13 years in the role. His position became untenable after longtime coach Alberto Salazar was banned from the sport for 4 years for doping violations. But Parker is not really going anywhere. So he's moving on from the CEO and becoming the president.
Right.
Of the United States of America.
So he's resigned to get a promotion.
Yeah, so that he now at Nike can say, oh, well, I'm no longer in charge of that, and I resigned from my post as a mark of respect before instilling myself in a different post for more money.
And everything in the Oregon project has been burnt. So
Oh,
there
yeah,
is absolutely no sign of anything. That clears that one
tragic
up.
fire at the Nike Oregon project.
What's an Oregon?
Yeah,
Never heard of it.
I've never heard of Oregon or projects.
No, don't know
What's
what you're talking
Nike?
about. What's
Where am I?
It's like another Area 51. It's,
Yeah.
No one knows.
I love that, by the way, where they're like, "Go on, let's storm Area 51. They can't stop us all." Yes, they can.
They will.
It's going to look like the killing fields if you. It's just.
But also on that, Spurs didn't have enough security to get rid of 200 Red Star Belgrade fans.
Yeah.
You'd have thought that, it'd be pretty obvious who they were.
Wearing the Red Star Belgrade shirts.
Well,
Speaking in their language.
Did you see they bought corporate seats?
Yeah.
So they were like, I don't think we're going to, I don't think we're going to adhere to this UEFA ban. Let's defy it by buying the corporate seats.
So that would have been quite pricey.
Yeah, exactly. It's commitment.
I quite like that.
What, the effort?
Yeah. That's the way to go about it,
you
isn't
don't
it?
you don't get questioned on the way. I went to West Ham recently, and like they're really the security. You have to go through. You get patted down and all that now when you go into West Ham.
Really?
So, yeah, it's like is it good? I guess it is.
Yeah.
Like with today's world, I guess
When I went to the
kinda makes
Emirates,
sense.
I got patted down as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I suppose, so Spurs, you'd think actually for 200, that's not quite right. And actually, they'd had to buy these. It's not necessarily just the fans, it's where they've had to buy these tickets from. So is that then from the club itself? Is it from individuals? Like if it's tickets house, of course, then they would get in a lot of trouble for that. It'd be them more so then. It's really interesting to see where this goes because that doesn't quite seem
Do you
right.
reckon they had to keep it hush hush when they were in the queue getting in, so they didn't hear their accent in there?
Either that or they've learned how to be a Spurs fan over the last few days. So, okay, when you get questioned about this is the answer you give.
Yeah.
And you can imagine.
How would you do that then? So if you had to be a very stereotypical Spurs fan, what things would you do?
Role play. I'll be the security guard.
Yeah.
I'll just make general chit chat with you. What do you think about this game coming up?
My favourite player is Harry Kane.
Right.
Yeah. Should I do it? Am I pass the test?
Yeah, didn't expect the accent.
Yeah.
Thought, because they would be learning English, they would have a better accent.
No, but all they need to say is my favourite player is. Yeah, I did. My favourite player is Harry Kane. I think that was the extent of the lesson, and then you can get yourself in.
I wasn't expecting the
Were you
voice.
not?
No.
How was it? Was it okay?
I think deeply offensive.
Possibly. Again, we're a London station as it stands, and I don't think we've got any intruders, so we're absolutely fine. 14 minutes to 10.
Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive and make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
It's cancer, they said. My first thought, let's just say it wasn't money, but time off work for treatment and trips to the hospital, paying the rent, and the cost of living doesn't go away just because you're living with cancer, and Macmillan can help with that too. My advice? Take their advice, soon as I did.
Macmillan, right there with you. Call now or search Macmillan Money Worries.
There are fewer than 10 days to get ready for Brexit. Find out what you need to do to prepare now at gov.uk/Brexit.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
I know my IQ is fantastic. I took a test and the results came back negative.
Love sport.
Love Sport Breakfast from originally Patrick Christys for another 10-15 minutes or so. Then, of course, Martin Bell is up after us. Producer Kieran has some stories for us.
I do, and it's the time in the show I like to go through some of the smaller stories, some of the stuff that actually can raise a bit of comment, even though it's not quite on the top of our agenda. Now, Olympiacos played Bayern Munich last night, and with every Champions League tie that comes about, there's always a game at youth team level. So, for example, Tottenham, I think, beat Red Star Belgrade 7-2 or something in the youth game. Now, Bayern Munich's UEFA Youth League match with Olympiacos was overshadowed as Olympiacos hooligans stormed the pitch and attacked Bayern Munich fans with sticks and fireworks at a youth game in a brutal bid to get it called off. And the players finished the match with a centre circle kickabout. So, ultras armed with bats. It was halted in the 84th minute when around 50 masked Olympiacos ultras launched flares and sticks from the stands onto the pitch. In horrifying scenes, the hooded figures stormed and attacked defenceless opposition supporters in a brutal bid to get the game called off. Now, I'm just trying to work out why that happened.
But you know, like when people go, so it's a bit like with the racing thing in Bulgaria, or with that. It was like, what's your overriding emotion? It's very weird.
Yeah.
Like,
what are you trying to gain?
Yeah. Come on then, lads. Let's go to this youth game.
They charged it with sticks.
Bats, and fireworks. And there were people genuinely with quite serious head injuries and stuff like this.
Wow. And this is like, I do know about this. The other 23s are under 18s. I don't know which one it is, but you're right. They kind of follow the first teams around, and you'll see that quite often. They have it's a nice idea, actually, because obviously for a lot of the younger pros, it gives them the opportunity to play against different types of team for their development. It's very, very good. But this just seems bizarre. Really bizarre.
Do you think is there some kind of history? I'm trying to think about if I can remember anything between these two clubs, but there's nothing that seems to spring to mind.
No,
kind of negative history.
I just think there are people in these sort of countries like Greece that genuinely just want to go and cause trouble. Do you know what I mean? Like there are ultras, we don't have that thankfully anymore in this country, but there are just people that want to go and cause trouble at football games. And they basically circumvented the security by going through the there's an entrance through a back door that leads to a parking lot, which they circumvented and got into the stadium that way, so they didn't have to go past any security. And it was a bizarre scene because for the last, it was the referee called an immediate stop with the German visitors 4-0 up. So it was halted in the 84th minute. The last 6 minutes, the players went around the centre circle, formed rondo. If you've ever played a game of rondo, Rich, where you kind of there's players in the middle and you have to pass it through. Yeah, they just did that for the last 6 minutes of the game. Just bizarre.
What, the game was actually
the
game?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, so strange. Really, really strange.
It's just nuts, isn't it? Like, oh yeah, all right, lads, I'm going to go to this youth game and shoot fireworks at the parents.
Yeah, no,
right,
crazy.
Excellent.
If they're running on with sticks, of course, sticks and stones will break bones.
People have been hurt, Rich.
I know, it's not a time to joke, is it?
People have been hurt.
Do you know, this is part of the issue, is you feel sometimes you shouldn't joke, and that's when you want to joke.
Oh, yeah, that's why I always laugh at a funeral.
Yeah.
Always.
And it's like, it's wrong, but it's like, it's because you can't.
At a funeral, you can often mask your laughter with fake crying.
With tears.
Yeah.
So you're hysterically crying.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, boys, stay with us. Six minutes.
What else have you got?
What else have you got?
Sorry, this is ADHD at its finest. Go on, what else have you got, Kieran?
Anthony Joshua has been urged to use a revolutionary new mouthguard that could help boxing's fight against fatal injuries by providing live analysis of head blows. So obviously we've seen a lot of injury. There's been some deaths as well in boxing in recent months. And the initiative's been backed by the BBBC, the British Boxing Board of Control, and it basically can detect when you have, a head sustained injury and whether you're feeling concussed, basically.
Sounds like excellent technology.
Yeah. So it's a chip inserted into the mouthguard to provide live analysis of blows to the head, sending the data to a nearby computer. Now, boxing is all about getting hit in the head. Is this technology gone too far, or is this the right step that we need to make?
Get put?
So it's in the mouthguard.
Right, okay. I mean, look, if it works, I mean, I guess you're always looking for the next. It's like all these things. You're looking for the next level. Boxing's, of course, we talk about safety in football. We were talking about it yesterday, about concussion and the fact that ex-footballers are more likely to get dementia and, a few different head injuries, of course, like because of the nature of sport. Well, of course, boxing, I've no doubt, will be even worse given the nature of the sport. So if there's any possible way that it doesn't take away from the joy of boxing, because I guess it would be if you knew, for instance, that We'll see it when the boxer goes down. They come up and you can see their days. But at the moment, I guess it's a judgment call, isn't it? The ref will make a judgment call. The corner will make a judgment call. Of course, the boxer wants to carry on. But if you were to know that actually they're at serious risk in that moment and that they're one blow away from potentially something fatal, then of course you would make the decision based on science as opposed to based on based on opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no. I think it certainly seems like it could be the latest piece of technology that's going to help drive the sport forward. You sense that every generation's got something that it's working towards, haven't they? And I think in sport, and certainly a sporting generation approach, I think the concussion and the head injury thing seems to be the one at the moment.
It's safety, isn't it? I mean, it is funny to think you rewind 30, 40 years and you watch footage of football games and the kind of challenges that were going in. And I mean, it's a completely different sport now. What I would say about football is I'd say it's more exciting now than it was back then. So they've done it well, like bit by bit. The different elements they brought in to improve the safety has been done quite carefully. The last thing you want to do, for instance, is make a step that's going to completely change a sport, because of course you could damage the sport itself. So something like this, if it was as subtle as that and it was part of a mouthguard, then it would be perfect.
Yeah, and the chap that has basically developed this technology has said we've been looking for something where we can measure the real impact. He could see it being used in boxers sparring, so he said if they take some heavy shots, you could call the sparring off for the day, or you could rest them up for a couple of days until they've made a recovery. It would give us a better idea of the concussive blows the boxer was taking during sparring, because at the moment we have really no idea. So it even works in a training capacity, not just on fight night. So it could be quite a good thing, I think, for boxers' long-term mental health and physical health.
And well-being, absolutely. Fantastic. Any other stories?
Yes, well, Jose Mourinho could soon find himself in a job. So we've heard that he's turned down some roles already, both in this country and abroad. But apparently Borussia Dortmund are in regular contact with Jose Mourinho, and they're trying to convince him to take over as manager. And apparently Mourinho is already learning German. So could be an interesting
That'd be a good role for him.
appointment.
What does Jadon Sancho make of that?
Yeah, you can't imagine Jadon Sancho tracking back 80 yards, can you, under Mourinho's 4-3-3 system? But, hey, it could work, I suppose.
I think that's a good role. I mean, I suppose you look at Jose Mourinho in terms of where his stock is currently. Is that about the right level? And by the way, obviously top level, don't get me wrong, but you feel that he's not going to go in and get a top. Of course, it is a top job. What am I talking about? It's an elite job. But is he going to go in and get the top job? Not at the moment. He's fallen down a bracket, I would say. And I think that's the kind of job where you could go in and actually there is potential again to, of course, win the Bundesliga, potential to do well in the Champions League. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Dortmund are fourth in the Bundesliga after 8 games. They've won 4, drawn 3, lost 1. So it's not like Lucien Favre is having a terrible season. But I think they were tipped to really challenge Bayern Munich. Even, there was some touting them as favourites for the Bundesliga title this season. So there's kind of rumours that if Favre doesn't quite get this consistency back in the Borussia Dortmund team, that Mourinho could step in his place.
I'm right in thinking he's obviously won the Premier League. He's won the Portuguese League, I believe. He's won the
Serie A,
of course, and
La Liga.
So this would then complete the set, effectively.
Yeah, I mean, the top 5 is France rather than Portugal.
True.
But, yeah, I mean, to get a top-level title in 5 of the biggest leagues in Europe would be an incredible kind of CV.
Sorry to interrupt. We're just getting a breaking news report through. Essex police say that 39 bodies have been discovered in a lorry at Waterglade Industrial Park in Thurrock, and a 25-year-old man from Northern Ireland has been arrested on suspicion of murder.
Wow.
So, sorry to interrupt for that, but that is pretty massive, isn't it?
Pretty huge news. Yeah, I'm sure we're going to be hearing more about this. Well, probably not just today, but tomorrow as well. Well, look, okay, not the note we necessarily want to end the show on,
sorry,
but it is what it is.
No, that's breaking news, obviously. We need to cover stuff like that.
But look, thank you. Been a great show. Do appreciate your time as always. Thank you for listening in. Thank you, Kieran. Thank you, Patrick. Stay tuned, because the brilliant Martin Bell is coming up right after this. It's 3 minutes to 10.
This is Love Sport.
There are fewer than 10 days to get ready for Brexit.